You're on camera. Say something.
Last night and night before, there was 3 women walking down the street that way. I saw them. I said, hey, you 3 women, why are y'all walking down the street that way? There's nothing down there. And they flew away. I said, oh, them was some birds.
Way down south in Japan-Obama, where the cypress sways and the creek runs wide, there's a sacred stretch of muddy water where the heart of the people's always tied. Norbert and Aggie stood before the town, said the mud holes meant for one and all. But Jethro's shoguns came riding in, built the tailgate temple tall. Yasuke's riding tall tonight, steel in his hand in the mud just right. Bound by honor, bound by land, for the folks who fish, for the kids who stand. Oh, Yasuke's riding tall tonight. Through the pines and past the levee came the warrior bold and true, with a heart as strong as the rising sun and a 4-wheel drive that flew. Jethro's clan stood shoulder to shoulder, coolers stacked and bonfires high. But Yasuke called the river spirit, and the flood rolled in with a battle cry. Yasuke's riding tall tonight, steel in his hand in the mud just right. Bound by honor, bound by land, for the folks who fish, for the kids who stand. Oh, Yasuke's riding tall tonight.
Could be Trump, yeah, Trump, oh yeah, Trump. 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 Could be Trump, yeah, Trump, oh yeah, Trump.
Look at the world, spinning so blind. He cracked the code, wired the grind. Told you what's next, mapped the design. Late to the game, he's ahead of your time. Eyes wide shut while he saw through the smoke. Y'all laughed it off, but the guy's no joke. Truth hit hard, left the doubters broke. Every call he made is the master stroke. Called it again. Are you listening? He's got the spark, yeah, he's glistening. Future's on lock, man, he's blistering. Told you what's coming, now it's christening. Called it again. Are you missing it? Pinpoint shot, every hit legit. World's in his hand, man, he's twisting it. Bow to the king, he's the infinite. Called it. Yo, rewind the tape. Forecast so clean it escapes the hate. This ain't no luck, this is fate. Create while you hesitate. He died. Censor the voices, lock the debate, drown out the ones who expose the charade. $1 billion fortress built on fear. Now they're hunting anyone who gets too near. They don't wanna want it, they don't wanna fight, they just wanna buy up the narrative rights. Hide the truth under lawsuits and threats. Think they're untouchable, place your bets. Breaking the profit tonight, tearing the chains off the lies. You can't erase what we write. We're breaking the profit tonight. The lies, the lies, oh the lies. I walk through the halls with a smile on my face, badge still flashing, ain't leaving a trace.
disguise.
The bosses in the tower think they got control, but the higher they climb, the harder they roll. They sold you a dream, but the dream ain't fresh. Just a rerun script for the broken press. Looks like the leaks were right. All that talk, but they got no bite. They swore they were building something tight. Now the world sees through your hype. Looks like the leaks were right. All that talk, but they got no bite. They swore they were building something tight. Now the world sees through your hype. Looks like the leaks were right. Bang bang samurai hero, dodging swords with his outlaw flow. Bang bang samurai hero, no respect to show, no fate to bestow. Bang bang samurai hero, stealing wheels while the firelights glow. Bang bang samurai hero, Yasuke West, just watch him go, watch him go. From a land across the sea, he came with a dream. Sengoku chaos, but he's got a new scheme. No bow, no blade, just a P226. A samurai, no, he's a gunfighting prick. Honor is dead when the bullets fly. He claims he's a savior, but we all ask why. On a bicycle, Yasuke the wall-riding legend. Tequila Clan stealing the credits. Bang bang samurai hero, dodging swords with his outlaw flow. Bang bang samurai hero, no respect to show, no fate to bestow. Bang bang samurai hero, stealing wheels while the firelights glow. Bang bang samurai hero, Yasuke West, just watch him go, watch him go.
Mama, we must run. The Wendigo Yakuza are here.
We'll be okay. We're not alone.
Where did we park for that?
Cider took it to deliver those flowers.
You all don't stand a chance.
Underneath the moon's cold light, whispers linger in the night. Shadows dance with subtle grace. Secrets hide in every space. Velvet skies and sapphire dreams. Cities pulse, electric beams. Lonely hearts in shadowed bars. Fading tales beneath the stars. We dance in twilight's tender glow, where time moves soft and slow. Eyes meet in a silent song, in the night where we belong.
What a week, right? We find out that everybody and their brother had a hand in assassinating JFK, and even Japan, Anime Japan, rather, Japan Anime Japan, kind of redundant there. Even Anime Japan 2025 isn't impervious to leaks. Here to discuss some of this crazy stuff with me and more is the lovely Miss Nerdigans.
Hi, Cider and Black Shirt Army. I'm not wearing a black shirt today, but yeah, it's crazy. Anime Japan is this weekend. Earlier on my channel, I did a full guide of what's to come this weekend. There is some very interesting choices going on, like say Disney Plus is not having a panel this year, and for some reason the new Panty and Stocking with Garter Belt panel does not have a YouTube stream, which I find very, very bizarre considering how popular it is here. So,
Well, it could be to do with Kappa because Pantheon Stocking has a very innocent art style, despite what it's showing, right? What's
yeah,
depicted in that art style. It has a very innocent looking art style. And so YouTube could get that confused with the Children's Online Protection Act. And so that's probably why. And you can upload videos of it because you can find whole porn videos on YouTube, by the way. I just hate to burst your bubble about how pure YouTube is, but live
yeah,
stream's a whole beast, though. But
yeah.
we do have a lot to talk about this evening, but here to talk about it with us is RJ McReady saying tonight will be exciting. Lot to talk about, a lot of crazy
Doing
stuff
Power
happening.
Rangers too, since Disney Plus is doing that as well,
Yeah,
apparently.
yeah, well, that's why they don't have a panel, is because of that.
Well, that's Japan. That's not um, American Disney Plus. It's different.
Yeah, they don't wanna show their face. They don't wanna make that announcement and then have all the Japanese people laugh at them.
Well,
But,
yeah, especially since it's the Percy Jackson showrunner that's probably going to destroy it.
we have, Sakura Mita here saying something, Kururu, run, run, Kururu, run. I'm sure I've insulted somebody's deity somewhere in the world, so sorry about that, or, excellent. I don't know what it is, but good luck anyway. We have Richard here, and he's saying, sitting here waiting for over 30 minutes now, and that art makes me think of it ought to be an actual cover for a game. Yeah, right? You have Yasuke Simulator, and then you have Ishiba Simulator, where you play a super powered Prime Minister of Japan. But we do have Kenneth Renz Domingo here, and he says he's asking RJ McReady how he's doing. We have Matt Smith here saying the Joke King. Yeah, well, that Yasuke in Assassin's Creed Mudhole that got me permanently banned from r/Assassin's Creed. It didn't even get approved. The moderator team didn't even approve it. They just auto banned me. It was my first ever post on that subreddit, and they auto banned it. It's just a country song. It was inspired by Kentucky Ballistics, who took the picture on top of that oversized 3-wheeler. And I just transformed it using AI. That's all I did. And I made a song because I was like, oh, that would be hilarious if we just reframed Assassin's Creed Shadows as Assassin's Creed Mudhole. And it all takes place in Japan, Alabama. Because I figured Japtucky sounded a bit racist. Call me crazy.
Oh my
but,
god! Wait, was Yasuke holding a bucket of KFC too?
No, you saw it in the opening. He just has a beer can when he's driving. So he's drinking and driving, as, a good Southern man does. I'm going to get lynched. That's what's going to happen to me. They're going to tie me to the back of a truck. But Leslie Tarkin's here saying, hail to all you lovely people. Hail to you, too. Apparently, you're going to be b-balling it up here later this week down in Raleigh. Good old Raleigh, however you say it. It's like the French fry place, right? Raleigh? Leona Rad has one of the best takes of the evening. I can't believe Disney has Power Rangers back, and you're absolutely right. What an astonishing turn of events to find out that you're gonna see that last scene in Avengers Endgame there, where Thanos says, "And finally, you've come back to me," And
but remember, this isn't the same Disney that made all those great Power Ranger seasons. Because remember, they made some really, really good stuff. Some of the best seasons came out of Disney, but it's not the same Disney.
Yep. We have Kirby here, who is living in Japan, joining us on the other side of the planet right now. So we appreciate your opinion, and we respect your opinion about round eyes in Japan, as we will talk about a little later this evening. But we do have a lot on the schedule, as I've said quite a few times now, but I do want to drop in with a little bit of an unscheduled one that popped up as I was running through my bookmarks during the openings. Solo Leveling surpassed One Piece as the most popular anime on Crunchyroll for just a little bit there. So,
Well, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I've seen stuff like that around going around. Solo Leveling, season 2 is definitely, I think from what I understand, Solo Leveling season 1 had some production problems. It was really nasty. But season 2 obviously has not suffered the same problems and it's looking a lot better. Personally, for me, I've moved on to, because I covered the first part, because there's 2 parts now, because Ragnarok is the sequel following Jimu's son Suo. If you have read all of Soul Leveling Mama and have not read Ragnarok, why? Go read it. You will thank me. It is really, really good. But yeah, Soul Leveling being one of the most being the most popular on Crunchyroll. That's probably in terms of surpassing One Piece. That's because One Piece is on break. Once One Piece comes back with Egghead, that's gonna be short lived. Soul Leveling will be like totally obliterated.
Well, again, I mean, like, it was just for a brief time, but it astonished quite a few people. That's all. It came. I bookmarked it when I saw it, and I forgot about it. That's how big of an event it was. But not to shit on Solo Leveling. They didn't do anything wrong. It's just One Piece. I believe will outlive the cockroaches. Honestly, Oda will be making that after he's mutated into a different species of human. So. But we were talking about Anime Japan 2025 leaks here at the opening, and here's one of them. We do have apparently a Digimon anime in the works.
Yep, this is the new Digimon anime called Digimon Heartbreak, and from what I understand, from what the poster said is that the OP said is that it was briefly on the website. So yeah, it was, they kind of like dumped it themselves and they took it down. But yeah,
a lot of that going around.
Yeah, it's supposed to be on coming out during Digicon, which is I think it's supposed to be today or tomorrow. But like from what I saw with the Anime Japan schedule, again, which I covered on my channel today, yeah, it's probably going to be at the Digimon panel, which is hold on, I have my thing converted here, so just give me a second. It is, I know it is in the blue stage. It is on, oh no, it's on green. God damn it. I know I have it here somewhere. Oh, here it is. It's on March 22nd at 2:30 or 2:20 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11:20 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Now, do we have any more information about this? Like what it entails? Are we going to do adventure all over again?
Whatever the OP has, that's all we got.
Okay. So this ended up, so if you're just tuning in here, I saw some people jump in here. So if you're just tuning in, we're getting a new Digimon anime. There's no details about the plot yet, who it involves, if it's a reboot, an extension, if we're doing that more adventure kind of thing that we've been doing with Digimon Tri. That's not clear right now. But what is clear is that we are getting a new anime. It was supposed to be announced a little bit longer, as Nerdigan speculated before we went live here at Digicon. But that did not end up being the case, as they self-leaked this, probably during just a page test, because unfortunately, for whatever reason, that happens so often now when they're testing like an image macro or something to make sure that it's scaled correctly. They'll just go live with a page.
Well, yeah. But the only other thing we do know is that it's coming out in October.
In October.
That's the only thing we do know. Yeah.
Now, what is the significance of October?
I'm sorry. I said Heartbreak. It's Beat Break. My bad.
So what is the significance of October, though?
October for Digimon?
Well, anything at all, though. Because you know how the Japanese marketers
October, there's a lot of stuff coming out in October. It's going to be extremely stacked. But yeah, I know this is like part of the 25-year anniversary for Digimon, obviously. But I don't remember if there's anything like super significant in October in relation to, especially in relation to the first season or of when Digimon started. Because I think that that was in summer, like in August or something, is when like the real, like when it's more relevant for Digimon.
Yeah, it seems kind of off the wall. I don't know. It just seems off the wall. And granted, Nerdigans just said a bunch of stuff's coming out in October, so it might just be there to ride along with the fall season. So it just seemed really strange that you know how they announce certain dates and you go, wait a minute, and that's just all. It just kind of poked out of my brain. Like, that's a really strange time to be launching a children's anime. Like, they're going right back to school, so you're gonna catch them when they're coming out of school. Is that the aim? They're gonna be like at the 4 o'clock hour or 6 o'clock, I guess, if you're a Japanese kid.
Like with Chainsaw Man Rise, for example, the hint that we got at Jump Festa, we didn't get like a date, but like the timing of it was like after they were talking about like around the time of like the typhoon or the end of the typhoon season, which would be in October. And that's like actually around the time that the chapter revolving around like the typhoons and stuff like that
Yeah.
in Chainsaw Man happened. So the Typhoon Devil. So yeah.
Yeah. Kirby, as I said, he's over in Japan. It says nothing special, but Undukai is going on in October for kids. So I'm just gonna guess that that's what it is that it's just, fall season for anime. And that's where, yeah, the sports festival would have nothing to, well, Beat Break.
Good.
That's, that could go. Didn't they have one of those Fitbit things come out for Digimon?
Well, besides the Digivices, I'm not sure. I
Yeah.
mean,
I want to say that that
there is
was one of the things that they did is they had like a special collaboration where you had a like a digipet inside of your Fitbit. I want to say that that was one, and it may be, if not, they definitely ought to get on that because that would absolutely tie in with that Godzilla Digivice you were talking about. So
ooh, so this came up on Twitter is that the Digimon anime portal is going to be opening on March 20th. So we'll get more information tomorrow with the anime portal opening up.
Yep. Okay. Well, neat. We'll find out how
But
it goes, I guess.
and also, of course, something I should mention as well is the Digimon, all the Digicon stuff. It is available on YouTube. That's going to be live streamed on YouTube. If you go on Digimon's Twitter, you'll be able to get access to it easily. But yeah, there's like the other thing that has come up was some of the new cards that came up were oh, here it is. Here, let
Which
me send
trailer
this
am I
to you.
looking for?
Here, let me
The one
send
that
you
came
this
out
real
on the
quick.
15th with Renamon?
No, hold on. This is like the main stuff that I was talking about. This is from like a few days ago in terms of the Digimon Con on March 19th, March 20th. For some of the other stuff, there's like there's the Digimon story, Time Stranger, the Godzilla versus Digimon collab, the cards, new comics, there's the concerts, and more 25th anniversary stuff
So
too. That's coming. Oh, that came out last month, but yeah, that's the stuff that we're supposed to be expecting
to
soon.
clarify, this Godzilla thing is rumored to be a toy, not an actual storyline. Because she was explaining to me in the back, I was thinking, how is this going to work? Like, you got Greymon there, and he's going to be like, Ty, it's really weird that he doesn't talk. He just keeps looking at me like he's really hungry. And it's really weird. Like, imagine they do cat face Godzilla. You remember Showa era Godzilla? It looked like a cat.
Well, here's what we know for the Godzilla image, anyway. For the Godzilla device.
I wasn't sure. See, I've got like PTSD over faked images now because of all the AI stuff I've seen in
No,
generated
this is from
myself,
the official
so.
Digimon. I think this is the official Digimon Twitter. So
Yeah.
this is not fake.
I'm glad I didn't go with the image I found on Google because it actually generated like a pink War Greymon, and I was like, no, that can't be right.
And something that I do love, and this was on Anime Japan's website as well, in terms of like who was listed as like the speakers, was the Terriermon assistant, which I freaking love. I love that I was listed as one of the speakers.
That's good. That's fun.
I thought it was cute.
Of all the appropriate uses of AI to create Digimon AI companions would be like A+, guys. That would be the most appropriate use of AI, generative of AI, conversational AI, the audio AI, all that. You know, the companion AI. That would be the most appropriate use of it to bring Digimon to life. Maybe that's what they're going to do with some of this stuff. They already
Oh,
made a
actually,
killing on that Digivice that has the actual like little screen on it there, like
yeah.
that real Digivice, if you will. So I can imagine just making that into an AI companion. So
Well, if you go down to the next tweet, it does say that the Digimon Con is going to be tonight. And there's the YouTube link as well. It's going to be at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, and it's for the 25th anniversary of Digimon Adventure 2. Is the what the D3 is for?
oh, that's what it was called. That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's going to be a little bit later today, and it should be. If you can't make it, it should be saved. And yeah, there is the English version too. So so you'll be able to understand it and not have to like worry about having fan translators in the chat,
In case you can't see that, there is a teeny tiny little 8-bit Godzilla over here.
which is really really cute.
Look at that. This is adorable. It's just
It's
it's gonna
probably
bounce up and down on the screen because it's one of those old Tamagotchis. You know?
yeah, it's probably going to be $200. Watch.
Of course, it has to be. You know, there's no way out. No, you can't put Godzilla in something like this. Like for a comic book, it's fine. You know, because that's just printed paper, art, stuff like that. It's not to diminish what it is as a product, but it's less complicated than a Tamagotchi. That's not to say that the Tamagotchi's complicated and like you can't make it. Like NASA has to make it, right? I'm not trying to
Yeah.
make that claim. I'm just saying it's a bit more involved in the production process than putting a comic book together. You know, so again, artist and writer apart from that, I'm talking about like making the product that'll go on the shelf is a little less involved than making a Digivice. And this will probably have that LCD screen, that little tiny screen that the new Digivices have, full color screen, rather than
Yeah.
having the old black and white ones that, you know, were astonishing for the time. But can you believe that we used to pay like $40 for that in like
Yeah.
2000s money? Like
Yes,
that,
we did have the Pikachu one too back in the day.
they were literally keychain trinkets. And they managed to get $40 of 2000s money out of us.
Yep. Well, if you were smart, you'd waited till like the Black Friday sales and got them for cheaper.
I was not. I was
Yes,
not.
Kitty, I was. You were not. Well, you weren't born then, Cat.
Yeah, the cat was like -years old at that time. But we do have more information, more leaks coming out. There might be a bit of confirmation going on here with Trigun Stargaze.
Yeah. So what Trigun Stargaze is, it's the sequel to Stampede that came out, which is the Trigun reboot. And it's somewhat of like a closer adaptation to the original Trigun manga, but at the same time, it's kind of not because Millie isn't there until, well, Millie's going to be here now. But this information, from what I understand, was supposed to come out at Anime Japan. But this website, Nordot, like leaked it, and it turns out that the director and 3 script writers, because there were 3 script writers for Stampede, got replaced. And the director that is working on this used to work at Studio Ghibli, and he directed Haikyuu from the Top, or not Haikyuu to the Top, which is who Masako Sato, and the scriptwriter is Kazuyuki Fudeyasu, who has written like the scripts for Black Clover and for Shangri-La Frontier, is working on this. And obviously Studio Orange is still doing the animation for it.
Okay, so that's the one with that kind of 3D looking animation
Yeah,
that
it's the CGI. Yeah, it's the CGI. It's Studio Orange, so yeah, it's CGI.
Okay. I don't know if that's going to work out in the end. I hear so many people that really dislike that art style.
It actually looked, in terms of like fluidity and stuff like that, it looked really, really nice. It did. The battle scenes looked great, but like I did not like Vash's design. I wish the hair was like spiky like it was in the manga. It didn't look as good as I really would have liked it to be.
Well, when I look at the way it's animated, I'm getting art style and animation style mixed up. But the animation style, it reminds me of that show Dragon Riders. Do you remember that on
Oh yeah,
Jetix?
yeah.
And so I can't not think that there's going to be some 14-foot long dragon just bursts into the scene and Vash rides off into the sunset. Like, later, I gotta go win a race. So I don't know. It's beyond me these days. And again, this is how Japan is compensating with not having enough raw people, like regular folks, to sit down and animate. As
Well, they're
talented as any
trying.
one of them. What's that?
Well, they're trying. I mean, they're doing
Sure.
more in-houses, more
Well,
in-house, and of course, like there's the generation of indie animators coming up too. So
and again, like as I said, though, you can be as talented as you like. When it comes to making 50 episodes of something, you need a legion of people. And just purely on a statistical level, there's no way that Japan has enough bodies to do what they did in the 80s and 90s anymore. And so we just kind of have to deal with that as the Japanese global market continues to expand here. As we had Comic Basics report on over here with the global anime market expected to surpass the domestic market. That's not ours, that's Japan's domestic market by 2030. I don't even think it's going to take that long.
well, the only thing is, and this is what I don't agree with them for one reason, is because they're saying Netflix and Crunchyroll. And it's like, no, if I would agree with you if you were saying it was piracy, because it's like, yeah, piracy is gonna just it would totally take it. The other problem is it would be a lot and this is why it's not happening a lot faster, is because there's no marketing. You're not getting people to go to the movie theaters at all because there is no marketing. Because there's like, for example, there's Kaiju number 8 that's coming to the theaters, the Hoshina um, stuff coming to the theaters. It's only going to be in theaters for 3 days compared to 3 weeks in Japan. And it's going to get no marketing, and maybe like you'll be lucky to get maybe 1 or 2 screenings per day. And that's, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get like the money that you need to surpass the domestic market if that's what you want by 2030, if you're going to keep going that route. And also, Crunchyroll's got its own problems with the localization issues, and also its servers, and also getting hacked. So yeah, people are not going to go to Crunchyroll and watch it. The majority of people I know pirate their anime. They don't use Netflix. They don't use Crunchyroll. They just pirate. So or use Asia.
So here's the kicker in this is that we are now seeing the alphas come up into this. They were just formerly just kids hanging out on their tablets. They're now entering college. And so they're now part of this market where they weren't before. And that's globally. That's not just our alphas here in the US.
Yeah.
And so I honestly think that this is going to tilt in their favor quite heavily because Netflix wants to survive. We've seen a drastic shift in how they're conducting themselves. And we've also seen Disney try to make this move too. However, these guys don't have to make that move. What these guys are pulling out of Japan is what the market wants. It's demonstrated that. These other things like Netflix, these MCU programs like Daredevil Born Again, they have to play catch up with anime. There are people now you saw this the other day on Twitter, they're talking about the anime effects in live action.
Mm-hmm.
So you see the shock waves and the key blasts and stuff like that. They want to see that in live action. And so then people started posting videos of Kamen Rider, and we're like, we've been here the whole time, jackass. But that is going to become more and more pressing to the point where I honestly think we're going to square the circle with this animation is for kids thing. I do think it's eventually going to evolve into an adult medium, thanks to anime being consistently more mature than the visuals portray.
Well, there's one problem is you have Perini. From what I remember with the Crunchyroll employees, they said that new management straight up has the animation is for kids mentality. So it's going to be weird to see, especially with the new studio that they're doing. I asked my insider about this, and I said, Westerners were freaking out about it, and I explained to him why. His answer was great. He's like, then why don't they make an anime about power?
Well, I don't know if
We
that's completely off the table. I don't know if that's completely off the table because as I've investigated making the Rescue Soldiers versus Power Rangers and what they control here in the US for visuals and brand rights and stuff like that, it's actually not as restrictive as the corporations want us to think. Wouldn't you know? They made it sound like, yeah, we actually control everything with a dick wearing a helmet. You know, that's you can't make anything with somebody wearing a helmet. We control all that. They don't. They don't. They only own calling it a morpher, by the way. You can have a wrist-mounted changer, but you can't call it a morpher. And you can't have 5 people wearing multicolored spandex jumping into a giant robot. But again, you can because of Voltron. The Power Rangers calls that their brand identity. So it gets hazy, okay? So this is where Pal World comes in with their anime. Because Pokemon doesn't own the rights to cute things being trapped and turned into dog fighters, okay? We've seen that with the many different anime that have come through that do the same thing. Digimon would have never have existed in the West if they were able to secure that wall. So the
Well, there was one other thing. The other reason is that remember Sony has that partnership with Pal World as well, so they could theoretically do it.
it would be hilarious to see like a very brief, like 5-second, like across the Spider-Verse accidental blip into the Pal World universe. So Miles Morales and Gwen are falling through universes and they end up in Pal World. And
Oh my god, that would be so funny, and they got captured.
right in the little balls, and so their friends have to like open up all the monsters. Like, oh, that's not Miles. That's not Miles. That's not Miles.
So awesome. And they could do it because Sony does have a partnership with Pal World.
Again, I could keep
With
the kids in
characters,
line,
yeah.
get the kids interested, keep Miles Morales kind of his own thing, separate from Peter. But who wants that? Who wants that?
Well, there's also again, and you mentioned the whole animation is for kids mentality. Something that I've noticed, and we'll definitely get into it a little bit further when we talk about Assassin's Creed, is the video games is for kids mentality is still alive and kicking too.
Mm.
So I've been noticing that happening as well, and I'm like, you're saying a rated M game is coming for your kids when it is rated M.
Yeah, it's like all the parents that bought Call of Duty for their kids and just acted surprised when it's about killing people. You know, like what would you expect? You know. But speaking of what did you expect, Aniplex and Crunchyroll are to make an anime
Aniplex.
production joint venture. They're
Yeah.
gonna call it Hayate.
I swear it sounds like I feel like there might be a trademark dispute because of Hayate, the combat butler. That was like the first thing that came to my mind. I was like, wait,
Maybe they own it.
it.
Maybe they own it. You know.
Nah, that different company, a different publisher owns it, but I can't be the only one that was thinking that. But like everyone, as I said, everyone's flipping out about this. I don't know. Like as I said, my Aniplex insider is just like baffled that people are flipping out about this deal. And I explained to him like people are don't trust Crunchyroll with anything right now. They don't.
We have a member of the channel, Black Pill Timon, meteor advocate. He says this will suck. So he's sharing in that very based opinion. These are two things that should not mix. And neither one of them is really in any condition to solve the problems of the other. So
well, they're technically part of the same company now, so.
Right. Well, this is what I mean is it honestly feels like that Warner Discovery deal that Zaslav came in and was just like hack and slash everywhere with, you know, it kind of feels like they merged these to save the two companies, you know, because they just Crunchyroll is going to produce, do you remember the early Netflix anime that were coming out before Seven Deadly Sins?
Crunchyroll anime, but here's something though that I feel like needs to be mentioned is that the joint venture is going to be headed by the Aniplex CEO and president and COO, and that's Masanori Miyake and Leo Watanabe from Aniplex. So we're not going to see Perini involved with this.
Okay,
No, the
yeah.
staff is going to comprise of employees of both Aniplex and Crunchyroll, but the studio is not headed by Perini or any of those incompetent fools. No, Aniplex is heading this. So knowing that, it's like now I'm like, yeah, I kind of understand why my insider is just like, dude, why is everyone flipping out? Like, there's no reason to be flipping out when you have Aniplex heading this.
So, what's the impetus for Crunchyroll doing this? Is it just to kind of create their own Netflix style studio? Is that what they're trying to do?
I feel like it's more like Sony trying to take a little bit more control and trying to create their own thing. That's what it seems like to
Okay,
me.
that's fair.
Because remember, Crunchyroll and Aniplex are under the Sony Group umbrella, and something that we did see recently is Sony's management. They're starting to make moves, and we saw what they were doing with PlayStation. They got rid of like the head of PlayStation, and they're replacing him with a Japanese person. And they straight up said they are going to like see what the hell is going on over there. And I feel like I kind of feel like this is one way of them doing that too. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird on off base on this, but that's kind of like what it seems like to me. But it does say, because it does say here in regards to Crunchyroll, it is Sony doesn't really have anything to do with Crunchyroll because it's an independently operated joint venture between Sony and Aniplex. So Crunchyroll's just doing its thing. That's why when I say in regards to like everyone's flipping out and blaming Sony for all this shit for what Crunchyroll's doing, it's like Sony does not, and my insider even said this too. Sony and Aniplex don't know what the hell is going on at Crunchyroll because they are doing their own thing. They got their own that's what I see from this, but
Yeah, that was the Crunchyroll. That's right. This is why, because they do the bad things. The Meteor Advocate Simone
but
here,
this is
they do
not
the
the
bad
same.
things.
This is not the same. This is not the same.
No,
No,
I
because
know. I know. He's just bringing that up because he's asking if we remembered it, and I
yeah,
remembered it. So I'm bringing it up because I remembered High Guardian Spice. So
yeah, I
this is
was
the standard of where they were. This is why I brought up Netflix's shitty anime before
yeah.
Seven Deadly Sins. So when you take a measure of where Netflix was and how high they've come since then, not all of it, but how high they've come up since then, I think they had like a Sonic moment with High Guardian Spice, so they probably won't repeat that mistake again.
Well,
Just saying.
yeah, I actually was at Crunchyroll Expo that year when High Guardian Spice got announced, and I remember everyone was like, "What the fuck is this? What? I
A
don't know what the hell this
mistake.
is."
Go back.
But yeah, that from what I remember, Japan had nothing to do with it. You don't have like this again. This studio is ran. This is going to be ran by Aniplex Japan. This is ran straight from Japan. Perini's got nothing to do with it. The fact that Perini's got nothing to do with it is actually a good sign.
Sure.
You're not going to get a High Guardian Spice out of this. No, I don't think you will.
So we also have the Texas law regarding the what are we
The
looking at
fictional,
here?
well, it's regarding people are like saying that it's mostly AI stuff, which technically AI depictions of children in terms of like porn, that's already illegal, so that's just stupid anyway. But the way it's worded though is really bizarre. Do you have it up? Okay, I'm waiting for you to have it up.
Oh, sure. I'm just wondering which one I'm supposed to.
It's
I'll
the
just bring this one
it's
up.
the Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick one. No, that's the Supreme Court ruling one. It's the one above
I
it.
don't. I okay. If the channel, if the stream goes down, guys, we're just gonna make sure. Okay, it's just so you know, because we're not. I don't know if we're allowed to have that word up there, but we'll find out.
So basically, the main problem that I'm having with this law is it's this final paragraph here. Is that the bill creates a new state felony offense for the possession of promotion of obscene visual materials that appears to depict a child younger than 18 years old, regardless of whether the depiction of an actual child, cartoon, or animation or an image created using AI or other computer software. That's extremely vague. And frankly, and as you showed a little bit before, it's unconstitutional because the Supreme Court, like, we had the Protect Act of 2003. Supreme Court overturned this portion of the Protect Act, so that way, because it was just ridiculous, and they made it so that cartoons and animation and art were protected from this. And then there's also,
No, go ahead.
Yeah, that was the second image that I have, was the federal law, the updated federal law. But then there's the other thing, and then there was also the SCOTUS case, the Ashcroft versus Free Speech Coalition as well, that did the same thing. So this is to me, and this is and the thing that people are not understanding too, is that this was a unanimous vote too. So this was bipartisan, both Democrats and Republicans. So those crazy mofos that are saying, "Oh, you voted wrong. You regret voting for Trump now. You voted for this." No, Texas probably voted for whoever voted for the senator voted for it. But still, it's not just Republicans too. It's Democrats as well. So you guys are being retarded. The other thing is that's really disturbing is these people are just like, "Oh, this is just going to destroy Lolly." It's like, no, the way it's worded is it's going to go after any depiction. It says specifically, because I don't know why people are misconstruing this. It says specifically, regardless, it depicts a child younger, appears to depict a child younger than 18, regardless of whether the depiction is of an actual child, cartoon, or animation, or an image created using AI or other computer software.
Right. This is very similar to what Australia passed. Now,
Yep.
theirs is very explicit about why they did it. This is just trying to head off the creation of art surrounding this topic. So what we're kind of missing in this discussion is why this is a problem. And what I just want to explain is that it's not that it is preventing the creation of explicit material. It is that it can be used to ban Sailor Moon. That's because, again, the girls are presented as unclothed. You can see their eyes, you can see their hair, you can see their mouths, you can't see their flesh tone, but they are clearly naked. Make no mistake, my little 14-year-old brain boy, my little 14-year-old boy brain remembers that, okay? I remember that as a little kid. I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I should be watching this. They're naked, you know?" And then their clothes appear on them. Again, so then you have Cardcaptor Sakura. No, they have Cardcaptor Sakura, and she has a lot of outfits where the skirt is very high. For me, as an adult, looking back on that, I would be uncomfortable as a parent if my little girl wanted to dress up in that costume for Halloween. All right? I'm not gonna lie to you. And then turn around again, you've got
you got Dragon Ball too, because Dragon Ball has like Bulma literally lifting up her skirt, her dress, and showing everything.
Right.
So the manga would be banned. There's a lot,
or at least portions of it would be anyway.
In Dragon Ball.
And so this is what the law is kind of needing to be clear about, is that these are materials that are not meant to be part of a greater entertainment scheme. That these are meant to be part of pornography, and they were generated, created, published, and produced, circulated for that purpose. That's where this law is kind of tripping.
But the thing is, even with that though, you're still including hentai. Because it says here AI generated CP. If you're gonna say it's AI generated CP, it's got to be specific. It's already existing in law anyway. If it depicts an actual live flesh and blood kid, yeah, then that's illegal. It's already established. It's just so stupid. Politicians do this shit all the time, where they try and pass a law that already exists.
So again, like, this needs to be clear about what the patent purpose of this creation is. This way, we're not going to end up with materials that were deliberately generated to exploit children versus anime, which again, by and large, is generated to entertain children. As adults, we are partaking in a media that is by and large dominated and aimed at children. There is adult anime, absolutely. City Hunter is a perfect example of a, you know, I wouldn't argue completely family friendly, but your teenagers can sit and watch with that. And that's really more aimed at adults, but the teenagers can get something out of it. Probably not your 10-year-old, probably won't hold his attention very long. So that's why, again, there's a distinction there. But this
It's not
should
just anime
be
either, though, Cider. There's also Family Guy. There's also South Park. There's
correct.
also Simpsons. Like, that's why I'm like, this is not just limited to anime. There's also video games as well.
Correct.
You can include in
This conversation came up around Kappa because Kappa talks explicitly about exposing children to adult material through the internet. This
Yeah.
is talking about creating material that exploits children using internet-based or technology-based products. So again, you can draw it or you can AI generate it. That's what they're talking about here. Same problem, right? Same problem. But now they're attacking the issue again the wrong way. The situation can be very cleared up by expressing the intent of this material. And from there, you can judge it much easier. Because when you go into this and you take a look at this stuff that's generated um, with the explicit purpose of, again, mimicking a real life experience, exploiting children, that sort of thing, it's very easy to tell that apart from something like a doshinji. It's
Yeah.
very simple to tell that apart. But again, with where the law is worded right now, it's vague enough that if some crosswise fella that grew up hating anime decides that he doesn't want his kids exposed to Sailor Moon, well, guess what? Texas is now not allowed to sell Sailor Moon merchandise. It's that simple. That's a problem with the law. I'm not arguing for this material to exist. Neither is Nerdigans. No one is. Well, okay. There are freak shows that are undoubtedly arguing that this law is a problem because it gets into their freak show problem. But they're not here. We're making the argument that somebody who doesn't like anime can abuse this law in Texas and deprive consumers of a perfectly normal product that was not created with an explicit intent of sexual endorsement.
Well,
So,
it also looks bad because remember the book bans we covered a while ago. I think it was in Tennessee, where they basically banned like a ton of manga, and it was like innocent. It was like PG manga. Like I know Boku no Hero Academia could get a little rough sometimes, but still, it's like volumes of Boku no Hero Academia that were banned, and it's just like, wait a minute. Why are these books being banned? Like the most random books are being banned as well as manga, and it's like, what? Like, why? You're trying. It's like the Moms for Liberty people. They're not. They are a bunch of hypocrites. They ain't for liberty. Nah, we're seeing the pendulum swing. We're seeing who really is for. At this point, we're seeing who really is for liberty right now. I knew.
the other thing that you're kind of dealing with is people are exhausted with tolerance on both ends. We're not, it's the folks that are in the middle that want to still live in peace, but that's going shorter and shorter every day. And that's where we're at, is that both sides are vying for control of the culture, and the right is taking advantage of the just agenda fatigue is what I call it. I feel it. It's the agenda fatigue, and this is part of that conversation. Anime, as we've discussed earlier, in Japanese culture, not restricted to the same things that we are here in the West, has a very divergent lifestyle. A Japanese person off the street is 1000% different from a Japanese person off the street in Japan, rather, is 1000% different than a Japanese person off the street in Hawaii. Now, if you go into Hawaii and you see Japanese people, they're not that different from what you'd expect Japanese people in Japan to be like. But when you get to Japan and you see people in Japan, no. They are not alike at all. Not at all alike, And that's where we're kind of like entering this sort of separation where the right's exploiting this in anime, as you've seen with Yorch the Dork, and you've got JDA running around, all these guys running accusatory stuff about anime, about this stuff. Then they go generating AI porn, not stuff that exploits children. I'm not making that excuse, but Yorch went around circulating some sexy nurse picture about how AI would save the West by making beautiful women, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's no consistency on this end. And that's what this law is missing, is consistency. It doesn't really do anything other than point a finger. And that you've got to have that kind of discrepancy, because people who are tired of tolerance will see panty and stocking and boom, now you can't have Metabots either because they have big eyes that look like the panty and stocking characters. Uh-oh. You know, and it can get that crazy because we saw this happen back in the Satanic Panic.
Yep.
And Jacob talked about this. He'll be on here in a little while. Jacob talked about this in his show, The Bible Lens Podcast. He did a whole series discussing the reality of what the Satanic Panic was opposing and how pop culture warped it into this just blanket hatred of things. So again, here we are again, where we're getting reactionaries that are dominating the conversation over, hey, we need to reel in this attitude about everything goes. That's not what America's about. It's about everybody gets along. We have our boundaries, okay? We have nice fences, and those fences are invisible sometimes, and we call them boundaries, you see, personal boundaries. And so we don't undulate ourselves in front of children during pride parades. How about we reel that one back in? This is an overreach. This is where we sit here and we say, oh, I don't understand this thing. And it makes me uncomfortable because I don't understand it. Rather than watching a 5-minute YouTube video that explains this to me, I'm going to fucking ban it.
Well, rather than just change the channel or pick up a different book or do something else, we're just going to ban it. It's like the same thing, and we're going to talk about a little bit later with like stuff like with optional gay romances, whether they're cringy or good, or especially cringy fan fiction. It's like, who cares? It's optional. Just let it if you don't like it, then just avoid it. They've given you an option to avoid it. Just the developers gave you an option to avoid it. Just avoid it. You don't need to like say ban, because all you're doing, all that these people are doing, at least in my opinion, is they're really coming out, and I really don't like accusing people of being homophobic. I really don't. I don't like accusing people of racist, but when you are saying that you consider woke being black and gay, yeah, you're kind of being and you don't want it in your games, yeah, you're kind of being homophobic and racist.
So there's many levels to that, and we'll get into it with Assassin's Creed, but
We will.
on the topic we were just on here, this was about the restrictions on generating adult material. And so Leslie says here, this might be a reaction to all the porn books that LGBT groups are wanting in schools. And yes,
I think they're using it as an excuse for it.
Well, I don't think this is going to go after anime. I really don't. I think somebody could use it for that
specifically.
Well, no, she was regarding the AI stuff. This is what she was replying to, is the AI stuff.
Oh, I thought you were talking about more so like the book ban and stuff like that, and why the overreaction with that. Because that's what it is. In terms of the book bans, that is 100% what it is. They're trying to take advantage of everyone panicking over the LGBTQ books and getting rid of like the books that in general they don't like.
So this is what I'm saying though, is that this is also part of that. How do you ban these books? You make sure they can't exist in the first place in your state. So you don't have to worry about fighting them out of schools when they can't be in there to begin with. And that's what this is about, is because, believe it or not, a lot of reactionaries, a lot of activists will use AI. They will use these internet tools to generate this material to propagandize to children. They will do that. Now it says digital computer generated stuff. So that means stuff you draw in Illustrator. That means stuff that you draw on your Cintiq, on your little drawing pad. That can qualify for that. So that means the stuff that, what's that?
Yeah, because a lot of artists now, including manga artists, have switched to digital art. So
correct.
That would qualify. And anime a lot of anime is digital now. So yeah, it would qualify.
Right. And this is what I'm saying, is that this is meant to stop people from propagandizing to children, but it can be abused. And so it should be headed off before it can be abused. That's the thing. Very simple language change, by the way. With very simple language change to fix this. It's not a huge rewrite of the bill. Nobody wants a huge rewrite of the bill. Just make it clear that the intent of this material is what decides the nefarious nature of it. That's all. From there, you can judge the illegal manner of it much easier. That's all. When
Yeah,
you
I agree
right
with that.
now, it's too wide open. What is deemed to be adult entertainment in the West is just a Super Sentai episode in Japan. Like we just had this huge discussion over on Tokusatsu Twitter, okay? Where we were all up in arms because some random YouTuber found Time Ranger, which is Time Force, Power Rangers Time Force, and he said it was for teenagers. And people were like, oh my God, can you believe it? Somebody implying that Super Sentai's for an older age demographic and having never seen it before. And that's just the reality is that over in Japan, they'll depict a child being blown up by a grenade. And that's part of children's entertainment. They'll show a woman in a bathtub not wearing a bathing suit, you know? They're not going to show you anything explicit, but she's definitely going to be naked in there. They'll put that in a Super Sentai episode. That again, over here we go, whoa, that's some CW Arrowverse stuff there. That's clearly meant for 14-year-olds. And that's where the line is, why people get so confused about this. And it's only going to repeat as that anime market continues to grow and they try to appeal to the West. Sad.
Sad. It's true. It is. Like a lot of the stuff that I mean, I like now it's just like, dude, I wonder what's gonna happen if these people discovered Looney Tunes. Are they gonna ban them? Because Looney Tunes does like insane shit, like or Tiny Toons, old Tiny Toons especially does insane shit like that too.
So believe it or not, okay, we have Jacob here. Believe it or not, he has arrived. You can hit like now, but believe it or not, there were people replying to the HBO Max thread on them taking down the Warner Brothers cartoons. We were talking about it in the Slack chat, and they took them off of Max.
Yeah.
And so the one guy replied and he says, I understand why they took it down. I turned on a random episode of the Looney Tunes for my kid, and within 5 minutes, Bugs Bunny was cross-dressing, smoking a cigar, and had shot Elmer Fudd in the face. And I was like, well, when you have a hypersensitive parent like that, yeah, they're probably going to think, oh, I don't want my child imitating cross-dressing, smoking a cigar, and shooting people in the face, because that's what happens. As soon as you see it, you're just going to go kill somebody. Like, well, I saw it done. I got to go do it.
Bugs Bunny with the ultimate MK Ultra.
Yeah, right? Who knew, right? What's up, Doc is the trigger word. You do that Winter Soldier thing. But
you just say, what's up, Doc, and the next thing you hear is like the Terminator theme song playing in the back of your head. It's like you have no control of your body after that.
Yeah. It's just a picture of a hamster that just gets brighter and brighter and it blocks your vision out. You have like a whiteout instead of a blackout. You just wake up in a ditch somewhere with a metal arm. Not again. That was one of my favorite lines from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Was curiously, the last thoughts of the bowl of petunias was, oh no, not again. And I love that line so much.
Okay, so before we move any further here, let's address the elephant in the room here. Cider, do you have a sound bar for like, let's say fire alarms that need replaced batteries?
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, Nerdigans, have you not replaced the battery after several weeks? You're muted. Still muted.
So you can't hear the beep, Jacob. I don't think she knows. Does she not know?
So beforehand,
well, we can't hear her.
Now your mic just doesn't work at all. So this is going.
Where did you go? What happened? Is your headset plugged in?
Still can't.
No, we don't hear a thing at all. I'm not muted or I've not done anything. She literally muted herself. And, well, okay. Well, yeah.
See what you did, Cider?
Yep, it is. It's entirely my fault. I did that.
Everyone's a witness. You all saw it.
Yeah, Matt is beside himself on this one. Yeah, we perform miracles around here. We perform miracles.
I keep telling people that's black women, not black men. So stop blaming us for their laziness. That has nothing to do with us whatsoever.
I didn't know Nerdigans was black, but I learned something new every day.
I had an inappropriate joke I can throw in there. I'll save it for later when she can actually hear it.
Oh yeah, that's important. We do have something that we could talk about while we're waiting for her to reboot.
Cycle back in.
What she's up to here. It's around here somewhere, I'm sure of it. It's around here. There it is. Ta-da! There's a new Digimon anime. We don't know anything about it yet. It's set to come out in October.
Can't be much worse than the last one.
Yeah, we were talking about that while at the beginning of the show here to prime everybody about it, so that way when you showed up, we could have a bit more of an in-depth conversation. Because after Ghost Game, I don't think that they're going to jump at this. You know, I think they're gonna like try to do another reboot, right?
So what was, does anyone know what the general reaction was to Ghost Game? Because like I said, I watched it, I reviewed it, I think Spencer watched a bit of it too. It wasn't good. Like it just, the premise was there. Like if they had executed the premise, like a Digimon horror genre series is not bad on face value. The execution of it was just absolutely atrocious. It was basically 65 episodes of filler, and then all of a sudden the show ends in like a two-parter, and then it was it. Now you're muted.
It's got me. But the problem is that I think they're going to go back, and Beat Break is going to be like one of those time skip ones where they fracture the timeline, and so they got to jump between the timelines. But
didn't they do that with, like, was it like Cross Wars?
Yeah, I think that's what Cross Wars was all about, or Digimon Time Breaker, maybe Digimon Time Breaker, break time, not break time. That's a different thing. But
I mean, do we really need like a Digimon multiverse? Is that something that we really require?
well, we were talking about this before we got here, and like they've got a new Digivice coming out that involves Godzilla, and I was thinking, like, of all the things to use AI for, like the most ethical use would to make Digimon real, right? So you have your little Tamagotchi, full color screen, and Agumon just talks to you about your day. He's like right there. He's like, by the way, the Lakers suck. They lost again. You know, it's just,
By the way, LeBron James still a fraud.
Bronny can't hit the basket if he tried.
Have we really looked into those Balco allegations?
And see that again, like you could have all these crazy conversations with your Digimon. Then you got your little Digimon companion, and with the AI, it can stay up to date with all this stuff and have crazy conversations with you.
Well, hopefully it won't be as creepy as like a Furby.
It will be, because if you talk to it long enough, it'll learn enough about you, like ChatGPT does, and it'll start like talking to you about things that it remembers from previous conversations, and you'll go, wait a minute, I don't like this. And but yeah, that'll be one of the things. Now, those who end up with Angel Woman, you have to like watch out for, okay? Anybody with an Angel Woman Digimon AI companion, you definitely have to be like, I don't think we're gonna hang out, I don't think we're gonna hang out, bro.
No, I think that the real bad sign will be if you get like Rosemon or something like that.
Yeah, beep twice. Beep twice if he hooks you up to a fleshlight.
Yeah.
Beep twice. But yeah, we're gonna end up seeing something. I think it's gonna be a reboot with Beat Break. It's gonna be one of those time skip ones where they pay tribute to all of the seasons at once. Because look at the graphic. There's no new team here. Nobody's
Well,
new.
it's also because this is celebrating the 25th anniversary. That's probably why.
50th anniversary, my bad. It's been 50 years of Digimon, guys. Did you know that 1990 was 90 years ago?
And it's literally just their fan base going, oh my god, oh my god.
Right?
The reality of my mortality has finally come to hit me.
My Otismon is the villain again.
No!
It's been 25,000 years, and my
Bring Paimon
Otismon's back.
out of the dimension.
He won't
like-
go away. I just keep bringing it back.
That's instead of saying somehow my Otismon came back, they said somehow my Otismon won't go away.
The kid's reaction isn't, oh my god, it's my Otismon. It's fuck.
Or fuck, bring back the D Reaper. Be like, oh no, I thought it was gone, but no, it's
That's like Ty's. That's like Davis's whole like thing. Like he defeated the second Myotismon, right? So he comes back and he's like, I became a noodle guy because I thought I peaked when I was 12. What the hell is this?
Yeah, Kitty, you can defeat him
I get it now. The noodle car is hell. The noodle car is representation of hell.
It's hell noodles, Key. Hell noodles.
Hell
man.
noodles.
We live a charmed life here. We live a charmed life, but so that
I just love the fact that people who have never watched Digimon have no idea why we find it so funny.
right. If you don't know, man, it's like that wrestling podcast. If you don't know what goes on with wrestling, you're gonna be completely lost. Why they find that so funny?
It's like when you hear. It's like when you hear.
Myotismon is like the Frieza of Digimon. He just doesn't go.
Yep.
Myotismon Black.
It's like when you hear that Ric Flair is having another match, you just go, "Oh God!"
It's
like,
just
please stop.
It's just Demi. It's just Devi Woman dragging Myotismon's like roadkill corpse out. You know, like hold on, guys.
He starts like hacking up a lung. That's like into his oxygen mask. Just like,
he just needs a minute to catch his breath, guys. Ready any minute. Oh man, they're definitely gonna run into a big problem with this. I don't know how they're gonna pull it off. Like a series is what, like, you know, what about remember the Transformers animated thing that I forget which studio did, but the anime version that they did that was really hype. Remember that?
Which one is this one now?
This is the one that just came out to celebrate the billionth
Oh,
year.
you're talking about the one that Trigger did.
Yeah, Studio Trigger did, the one that was just really out of this world, you know, Transformers animated thing. So that was really cool. But that's like a few minutes long, right? This is a series, and I don't know if they can carry that anymore. I just don't. 25 years of Digimon to try and execute in one series. That's like a Doctor Who. They're going to do Digimon Doctor Who. They're going to do Digimon Doctor Who.
Yeah, I mean, we've stretched this out as far as we can possibly can. I mean, there's a couple of then again, I mean, I was like, there's a couple of series that they haven't really touched up on. We talked about Savers being one that could, you know, it's possible if you want to do a second one, you can bounce off of that. I mean, Frontier, you couldn't possibly go any lower than the first one, so I mean, you can do that one again. But
Or just for that.
I mean, yeah, but they just like, as far as the adventure timelines go, like they've bled as much blood as they're going to get out of that thing at this point. I mean, it's been done to death. So it's like either you're going to squeeze one of your other properties, which at this point in time, I don't think anyone wants another series of Tamers just for, I mean, it ended it so perfectly that we really don't need anything more than that, especially with these writers today. Like, you really don't want a reboot of anything from there. And then, it's like I said, you're going to start something fresh. You just did that a couple of years ago at Ghost Game, and it sucked. So it's hard to get excited for another one, given your track record recently.
Yep. And so we'll have to find out what goes on after this. I'm not sure that they're going to be able to pull it off. That's what I want to say. So
yeah,
we have Hey, it's me and HD asking, where's Spencer? Well, Spencer is working on writing articles right now. As we talked about at the top of the show, there's a lot happening. Along with the JFK files, apparently everybody wanted to get all their freak out this week as well. And we got a face full of it just a few days here, with not only Helldivers coming out and saying that, by the way, we do psychological manipulation, but we also have Assassin's Creed Shadows stuff coming out now that people are playing the game. And yours truly ended up being reacted to by Asmongold. Check it out. Excuse me, I'm just turning that down a little bit because I don't know.
Oh, look at this big shot.
Yeah.
Yasuke can steal armors. Yeah, there it is. Can steal armor.
You see the face there?
Family's tomb.
Whoa. You're reading that right. In Assassin's Creed Shadows, it's been revealed through the art book mix that you will be getting trophies for looting the Emperor's tomb. That's right. Ancestors of the current imperial family are up for grabs. You can steal the sacred armor of one of the most earliest Japanese emperors in history as Yasuke, a foreigner. Now, I get it. The West it just kills him. Oh yeah, you bet. Any minute now, I'm gonna get the call up to WWE. You bet. I'm gonna be the next one to do a curb stomp on that Cody Rhodes kid. I don't even know what he looks like.
No, yeah.
Dude, a certain I was gonna say a certain furry is probably pissed off right now.
Oh yeah, no, because yeah, you'll be the next person, the autistic person they let into the ring and punch Cody Rhodes in the face and give him a black eye for 2 weeks.
I thought it was real. I thought it was real. I'm sorry. I thought it was real.
Was I not supposed to do that?
Yes. Whoops. My bad. Yeah.
I was supposed to do that, right?
That's it. That's all it was. We didn't hang out. We didn't play Dreamcast. Maybe someday, but I don't know. His place kind of smells.
Hey, Cider, if you're willing to pay $8,000, you could make that a realistic possibility in the next few weeks. So
to play Dreamcast with
no, I was talking about punching Cody Rhodes in the face.
Oh yeah. Well, who doesn't? Like just lay awake at night dreaming about that, huh?
Just max out your credit cards and go
That's
to
all
Vegas for a week.
That's all it takes, baby. That's all it takes. Just max out your credit cards. I don't know what I'm showing right now. So we'll jump over to this one though. In case you didn't know, there was a lot of ruckus being raised about the lesbian scene in Assassin's Creed. You see a lot of that face, by the way. It seems that Ubisoft had like one idea of what Asian people looked like, and they were like, "Yeah, that's good enough." And minor shifts on that one.
You know that one Asian actress that looks like every other Asian you've seen on television before?
It's like that joke from Family Guy. Oh look, Lucy Liu.
It's
look, it's Connie Chung.
Let's get the Asian girl from Until Dawn and then cut her hair and just copy and paste her from face mold.
Like it gets it. You wait till you see what's happening here. It's something wild. So I just want to make sure the audio is not going to play.
Oh no, you got if you could have like the audio on for a second. That voice acting is just bad. It is bad.
So these are people who are like, wow, what do Japanese people with English accents sound like? And they decided the absolute most racist interpretation of an Asian accent was appropriate here.
Lust is a journey of 1,000 steps that begins with a kiss.
Okay, cut. Okay, there's a lot happening here. First of all, if I had heard that reading like in a booth, I'd be like, okay, cut. Okay, let's try to do better. Wait, there's a second take. Let's actually try to like make the voice in sync of what's actually happening on. You can see what's happening, right? Oh, okay, let's do it better because that one was dog doo-doo water awful. Let's not do that 2 times.
Well,
so,
even Xeno's like this awful.
You know what? I think it was Pakuchi said this. He said that like this kind of voice acting is in Japan they call it a drunkard. Just
Nani indeed. Well, wait till you find out what happens next. So we're just gonna wind this back so you can watch the body
language. Did they get stoned by Middle Easterners yelling "Mashallah"?
Quite maybe now in the way that Japan's being populated by the Kurds, maybe, but not. Meanwhile, back at the plot.
Kiss.
So they grab the face. You see that? Just like Spider-Man, like yeah, right in for it, and sex offender shuffle.
Like if you had done that to like any person, just grab their face and like yank it towards them and be like, hey, what are you doing?
Wait. There's something non-con about this.
What are you, 12? You never made out before? What's wrong with you?
Wait. What's the safe word? Okay. So now we've gone from grabbing by the face to grabbing at each other to falling on the ground to writhing on each other.
Imagine you're in the middle of the woods and whatever time period this is, and you're just walking around, and all of a sudden you run into like 2 girls like scissoring each other in the middle of the woods, completely unexpectedly. Just go, ah, God, ah.
Okay, I want to like stress this because we're gonna talk about this in a minute about what Yasuke gets up to. None of this is in any of Yasuke's cutscenes. They're just talking to each other. They might get like their foreheads touching, but that's it, okay? These guys are like, and then they kiss, and then they roll around on the beach, and then one of them tops the other one, and there's guys, there's still 7 seconds of this left. There's still 7 seconds. It's just breathless, silent kissing. It's like, what the? This is a video game, not a movie.
Mhm.
A video game in which you're supposed to kill people.
And then by the end of the game,
They
the only
just
person,
go back out of the
and by the end of this game, the only person you want to kill is yourself. Ugh.
They're just like, okay, I caught my breath. This is ridiculous.
You are like a really bad at this.
Oh. Why did they do this? I've read better fan
Because you because you know somebody in like a Reddit message board saw this and clapped. That's why they did
This
it.
is just like me. It's
Mhm.
just like me, guys. So
I can literally see myself in the game.
So we've seen how Naue goes about her business, okay? This is just in 30 seconds, okay? This is 27 seconds of Naue's scene, okay? Now, watch how like they were like, we need to be a bit more careful with the black guy. Watch this, okay? Now he's meeting with a trans, all right? This is a trans character. And even then,
Lesbianism we're completely okay with, but interracial dating is an abomination.
yeah, right. Like we got to be really careful about this one.
I do not think I have ever seen you quite so tongue-tied.
Not yet, at least.
Okay, nobody's
stop,
grabbing
stop.
anybody's face.
Stop. Let's pause here for a second. Are we 100% certain that this is a woman and not one
I
of
just told you
those
this is a trans.
Taiwanese lady penis things?
No, that's a man pretending to be a woman. That's rookie character.
I mean, in all honesty, you can't really tell anymore because the way that they draw women in video games these days, like she just might be just an ugly chick, and that's totally acceptable for 2025 video games now. So
yeah, but they weren't. See, Richard, they weren't samurai. You were dedicated to being a samurai, and this person left being a samurai because this guy found the samurai to be boring and too rigid.
yeah,
Like, what did you
that's totally what
expect?
happens in reality.
We're gonna do pillow parties and paint each other's fingernails. What the hell?
I hope you aren't easily chilled. Do you think someone might see us?
Well, you'll know. That's for sure.
Maybe.
Now, imagine a scenario where you run into the other
you
two
care?
scissoring each other, and then you run away, and then like 5 minutes later, you run into these two going at it. It's just like, oh, what is happening in this forest?
Okay, I want to remind you, we are now 36 seconds in. There is no face grabbing. No one's rolling on the beach. There's none of that, okay? Look at that brow.
Well, to be fair,
wow, that turned into a unibrow. Look at that shit! Look at those eyebrows. They exploded.
To be fair, if two guys did what the two girls did in the last scene, it would look like a scene from the TV show Oz.
Well, they're supposed to be gay. They're supposed to be gay.
Well, the guys in Oz were gay too, but it didn't go. It wasn't nearly as romantic as this scene was. If you've seen that show.
Romantic.
Yeah. The old dick twist.
Okay. Right. Now that was 6 seconds of that. Okay, I just want you guys to really understand for a second here how careful they were with Yasuke even having implied heterosexual relationships. This character is obviously trans, but it's one of those things where they were clearly influenced by some decision making early on in the game, and then I didn't bookmark that one. Hold on. There's another one where Yasuke is romancing Nobunaga's sister. I want you to think about that one for just a second while I try to dig it up. Yeah. Well, it's implied that they sleep together. And I'm trying to dig it up here, but it's By the
being a
way,
little bit of a go ahead.
if you are meeting Japanese people and they are talking about, they say the word digging, that means to have sex, by the way. Just so you know. There it is. Here's the one with Nobunaga's sister. So, by the way, this stream will probably disappear if we haven't been knocked out already. So just be aware. All right. This is highly not okay. Those Ubisoft Canadian lawyers are going to come through the window any minute now.
Mhm.
But so this is Yasuke romancing Nobunaga's sister. And again, I want you to pay attention to just what we saw with Naoe, grabbing face, rolling on a beach, having all kinds of lesbian wahoo time where sand can get into very uncomfortable places, and how they treat Yasuke's relationships, heterosexual or otherwise. So you can tell he's tall because he sounds like fucking Godzilla everywhere he goes. With them.
Mhm.
Here we are.
He's not the ninja, that's for
alone at
sure.
last. Yet I don't know what to say.
I do.
Bye.
Someone once said it like this. You are a daimyo's daughter, and I am just a samurai.
Not just. Never just.
Mm.
God, this dialogue is so cringy. And from what I've heard from through the grapevine is that the Japanese voice acting is a million times better per usual. This is going to bring up the sub versus dub debate. But yes, this is one of those times if you are playing this game, play it in sub, play it using the Japanese dub. Don't play it with this cringe. Seriously, do not play it with this cringy
Well,
dub.
this is a problem with modern writing in general. This is kind of a bigger scale problem.
Well, no, I'm talking about modern voice. No, this is the problem with modern English voice acting in general.
Well, yeah, you were mentioning the dialogue earlier. It's like, but this is kind of a bigger scale problem here. It's that romance is dead, or romance is dead on a large scale. And if you see anything that is what is supposed to be presented to us as romantic, you're either getting some LGBTQ weirdos, like, you know, perverted sex fantasy, or you're essentially giving the equivalent of like a Hallmark movie, where it's like basically a lonely 30-year-old woman's fantasy. And those are like the only two forms of quote unquote romance that we're getting anymore. Because I don't know if you realize this, people aren't exactly like getting married anymore or having kids at the rate they used to in previous generations. So this idea of what love quote unquote is has been completely perverted to and distorted to a fact where I don't even think that we're probably raising a generation that generally does not know what it actually means to have a healthy relationship with another human being. And that's sad on a multitude of levels.
Sure. I mean, they're obviously not picking it up from Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Yeah, right. We hope not.
So, okay, now what I want you to know is that in this entire 2 minutes, okay, this is the only decision you get to make as the player. The rest of this is cutscene.
Yeah, I love playing Movie the Game.
Yeah, they saw Kojima's Death Stranding and they were like, bet. You know?
Lady Oishi, I have learned something in my battles. Time
Pussy's better than butt.
is a veil.
It took me many battles to learn this.
The last level I had gave me the monkeypox.
And now I will pass it to you. Okay, so what did you know? No rolling on the beach, no face grabbing, and now he wakes up alone with an angry cat on his dick.
Yep.
He's like, oh, this is normal.
He got ghosted because that's what happened to the 30-year-old intern who wrote this scene. She had a one-night stand and woke up and the guy was gone. So,
but he left his cat.
Relatable. This is relatable.
Man, where's
This
my
scene-
fucking kidney?
This
And by the way, I do want to emphasize realize this because this is according to the associate narrative director. She said that this is not canon, that all of these are all optional gay romances, and if you don't want to deal with these, you just go into canon mode and you don't have to deal with any of these romances.
Yeah,
And these are just
you know
bad fan. Basically, they're
you know
bad
what else
fan.
is optional? My worthiness of playing this game. Every time I see another
Exactly.
scene for it, I feel like, yeah, this is probably an optional choice for me.
We are going to be playing
Exactly.
Yasuke Simulator on this channel, not
This
Assassin's Creed.
this thing is so depressing. I can like literally almost like smell the person who wrote this scene. They're just
Right?
throwing it out.
But you know what though? You have the pure or the woke right bitching about like the actual kid or bitching about that there's lesbians and gays in here and all that. And something I've seen in the comments is like, dude, you're bitching about that. Like, what about the animation and the graphics? What about the dialogue itself? Like, it is pure cringe. Like, it's just, it drives me up the wall that these people are bitching. I can't believe I'm sounding like a leftist right now, but it's just like, dude, it's an optional gay scene. You don't have to play it, but still, like the fact that the graphics are really nasty, like it's something out of like a 2010 game, and you have like really shit writing on top of that and shit voice acting. I think that's kind of a bigger problem than there actually just being a gay romance in the first place. Or optional gay.
At this point, it's all just lumped in there together. I mean, you know, because you got to look at the teams that are developing stuff like this, and you're looking at teams who are more worried about putting those optional scenes into the game than they were actually making a solid game. Like making a solid, enjoyable game was not a priority to these people. I can't believe that somebody put this together for everything we've talked about over the last several months and thought that, oh yeah, gamers are gonna love this. It was like, no, we got people out there who are basically trying to put forth their agenda in people's faces, and that's why everything else falls apart. That's why the writing is bad, and the dialogue is bad, and the gameplay is bad, and the graphics are bad, because they're not people who are actually focused on the gameplay aspects of video games. It's like they just want to shove their agenda and representation in their throats, and they forget that there's other aspects to a game that actually need to excel, which is why you get dog crap games just like this.
No, but like the point is that there's the art animation for their fanfic that they're so proud of is complete ass on top of that. So
No,
it's
like everything sucks. Everything about this game is garbage. This is what we showed you. This is like Walking Dead Telltale levels of garbage. Like that game came out what, like 16 years ago?
Yep.
From the PS3.
Well, and I just want to point out that Yasuke is sitting in a room full of cats. There's not just one here.
Just like the writer who wrote this
Right.
is also sitting in a room full of cats.
Yeah. And I'm a little beside myself on that one. Yeah, okay. But there's worse, okay? This by far is the most cringy one, okay? Now, before we move away from this one, I want to make it clear that the woman he romanced was Nobunaga's sister. She was very, very much a very loyal woman, known for her honor and for her decorum. She did marry for politics, but she did love her husband. That was very well known about her, and that she is an example of wifely behavior in Japan. And so for her having an extramarital affair with a cat-loving Yasuke, that because of the animus, right? Because of how the animus works, this implies that she went on to have Yasuke's child. So
wait, hold on a second. Wouldn't this interfere with like the whole purpose of Assassin's Creed, though? Or like part of its shtick is that you don't interfere with history for the most part. You're like an
In order
outsider.
in order for someone to regress to the animus, they have to have a genetic ancestor to jump into. And Yasuke didn't have any children in history.
Yeah.
At least in Japan anyway. And so the whole thing is that he went to, now this situation implies that she had his child in order for him to have a descendant to jump into the animus to come back into his body.
Out of all, like, I'm down for his, like, as I said, this is like all about canon stuff from what I understand, but like still, out of all the people you chose her, like that's, I think that's kind of like that's kind of fucked up. Like if it was just like a random NPC or something like that, I think that would be a little bit different, but
I just don't
really?
understand. I just don't understand what the fixation is on doing this. You can make these fictional characters very easily, and
Yeah.
they can fill these roles very easily, and they can explore very important things. And you don't have to use real people, which again,
Exactly.
the West just doesn't care about this stuff, like I've talked about before. And we do, however, enjoy laughing at this stuff. So here we have Yasuke's, in my opinion, the most memorable cutscene about romance.
God, this is so cheesy with music.
You are more than worthy. In this moment,
Are you noticing a trend? Yasuke doesn't believe in himself. Everybody has to tell Yasuke he's 8 feet tall. He can run through buildings. Everybody has to tell Yasuke that he's a big boy. He doesn't know it. He literally dismantles an entire village by himself. Nobunaga calls him a one-man army, but everybody has to tell Yasuke he's a good boy. Everybody's gonna tell him he's a good boy.
we have shared will be my treasure.
So I'm sorry. It's just the scene right here that gets me every time. I think that there is a meme right handy. No, okay. Well, here's Yasuke winking. But we do have an example of the voice acting that goes on here. Prime English voice actors here, just people that are very well paid for their talent.
Resentment can grow quiet without much warning. Storm.
You want me to replay that? I mean, it was so good. You may have been mesmerized. So here we go. We're gonna take it from the top, unlike the people in the booth.
Resentment can grow quietly without much warning after a storm. Mushrooms can too.
Hi, Katie.
Shiitake? Mushrooms.
Do you guys know? Yeah.
Okay, cut.
I don't know what that was, but we're gonna try it again, and we're gonna try and make that sound human. Okay.
Like you gotta wonder. Like part of me is like thinking to myself, it's like, dude, is that AI? Like it totally sounds like it would be something out of an AI.
I don't know. I work with AI every day. AI would immediately assign that as an error and tell you it needs to regenerate. Okay, it would not even let you hear that. I work with it every day. It would not
like,
even
look,
allow that.
like I'm trying to build a world where AI doesn't take everyone's jobs, but some of you guys are making it really hard to justify why a robot shouldn't do your job.
Exactly. But the other thing I want to point out, though, is something that a lot of people have been saying about like the Looney Tunes movie, for example, is that movie has actual voice actors. It's not celebrity voice actors. And it was fantastic to watch it and enjoyable. And it's just like, it just goes to show you what the real problem is in terms of like the video game and English video game and animation industry right now, is that it's the voice acting. They're not bringing in actual voice actors. They're bringing like people off the street or celebrity voice actors.
Well, it's very interesting that you mentioned this because I have a clip here. This is WWE's Alexa Bliss, who is a part-time wrestler who is doing the voice acting. I can't remember exactly what Netflix anime show this is here, but exactly. But I want to point this out here because we've played some very, very awful voice acting here, like enough to the point where we have to question how these people got jobs in the first place. Here's a little clip of Alexa Bliss doing the voice acting for this show. Now I'm gonna let you guys judge here whether this is better or worse voice acting than what we saw from the Assassin's Creed game. Keep in mind this is coming from a woman who is not a professionally trained voice actress, but I feel like she did a much better job than some of the other people who we would have to qualify as professionals by kind of definition. But I'll let you guys be the judge here.
Time for a little payback. Oh! Nice. Come on, try to kill me like you really mean it. But I don't want to kill you, because I don't do that. Huh? But the Sakamotos aren't even related to you. That's so stupid. I'm not stupid, you stupid grandma!
Now she's an anger drunk.
So powerful. Oh no! Huh? Have you been pulling your punches on me? You've got a lot of nerve. I can't even remember the last time someone pushed me this far.
Oh shit!
It's been so long.
Okay, we need to stop. We need to stop.
This is cringe. Like this, I can't stand English anime voice acting. I can't. Modern English anime voice acting is just too much. It's so bad.
Yeah, I was watching this play. I'm thinking to myself, shit, I forgot there's like other people who are also bad in this too. It's like somehow they're making it even worse. Yeah, though that's the English dub. What is this show?
Sakamoto Days.
Okay, I figured you would know, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh god, and also that art animation really is just. I hate it
Not
so
great.
much. If you read the manga, you will understand why it is terrible.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah,
But
I
listen
have
to
a pit in my stomach. Ugh. Anyway, did we even listen to what this person had to say, or was it just the?
Somebody said no eating while dubbing. It was like, can you just
Yeah.
imagine somebody's like in the booth with like a bucket of Popeyes?
Well, no, I shit you not. That's how who is the actor? Marlon Brando did The Godfather. There was a bunch of behind the scenes commentary where he's just eating a sandwich and he lowers his arm underneath the camera shot. Every time they cut the cut, he eats a fucking sandwich. He takes a bite of the sandwich. So here we go. You got to listen to what this person's saying, not how they're saying it. It's the dialogue is also stupid. So I have a feeling the voice actor was like, "Fuck this."
Resentment can grow quietly without much warning after a storm.
Resentment can grow quietly without much warning after a storm. What the fuck? Mushrooms can too. Shiitake? That's what this person is asking amidst all this terrible what? Like even Skyrim NPCs make more sense than this, and they fly through the air occasionally. I don't understand this. And this is exemplary of how a lot of this dialogue went. The delivery's terrible, but the writing itself is like, this is not how human beings of any culture communicate. Okay, this is how bug people talk.
But I gotta wonder, there's probably no AI involved in that dialogue, right?
No, that's a human right there. AI would be, if AI was doing it, it would be much more spirited, no matter how they turned it down to like the emotional level. I get the feeling this character is supposed to be pretending, like you're supposed to be interacting with this person who's putting on an act. But when an actor is trying to act, it can go one of two ways, and it went the wrong way this time, you know. And that's how that
fellow children.
Right, and that's what that is that when an actor pretends to act, it tends to not look good. So
yeah, there's a lot of hello fellow children and hello fellow gamers happening here.
Right.
Something I do want to say is, in terms of like the people pushing the agenda on the woke right side of things, is it's, as I mentioned earlier, it's gotten to the point where people are like, the groomers are pushing this stuff onto our kids. It's like, this is a rated M game. Like, are we really doing the video games are only for kids in 2025? It's not pushing it onto your kids. Shut up. If this was like a Mario game or something, then you maybe have an argument, okay? But that would be up with the localizers, not with Japan. But still, it's like, dude, come the fuck on. Like, stop.
So Matt says, okay, Ubisoft is just trolling us, aren't they? Well, when you see this clip, you might have to ask yourself, is it really that hard to make a video game? Apparently, it is. Okay, that man's head's gone. Did you catch that? Let's just run that back real quick. He is dead. Never mind. It's just a flesh wound. Go ahead. What were you gonna say, Jacob?
But cut Dead guy, you're not supposed to get back up in the shot.
It's not in the script. What are you doing?
The hell?
Take 10. We have to do this again.
He's like, thanks, man. My neck was killing me. He just gets up like that, and he starts walking off.
What the hell?
Like the battle's over. He's like, all right, my shift's over. I'll see you later.
But you know what? I want to point out something that's really interesting is people were, you know how people were trying to shove this, that this is a dual protagonist, and it sounded like it was going to be an equal thing between Yasuke and Nae. Well, guess what? Like I was reading the GameSpark review for this game, and something they said, and this is the Japanese publication, by the way, they were like saying about the main character Nae and her assistant Yasuke. I'm like, oh no.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dash Blue and his wife were streaming the game in Japanese because they are. His wife is fluent. She grew up there, and he's American Japanese, so he speaks it pretty fluently. But she grew up in the culture, and so Yasuke's never referred to as a samurai in that game. He's a
version.
Correct. They call him he is a servant of Nobunaga. When Nobunaga calls him a fine samurai, in Japanese, they call him a fine servant. He's not ever addressed as a samurai.
Like that. I knew it.
Yeah, that was the craziest thing watching their playthrough, is that she kept catching it. The first time, she almost spat out her drink because it had been such a big controversy. And what is the first thing that Nobunaga says about him in that full armor? You're a great servant.
I knew the GameSpark review makes so much sense, because they were saying that, like, if you were worried about the Yasuke controversy, you don't have to worry about it, like, making up or redefining Japanese history. But I was like, at the same time, I'm like thinking, I know Ubisoft Japan said they were going to like change things, and for the Japanese version, and one of the things was, people were speculating it was going to be samurai. They were going to call Yasuke samurai. Woo! They were right. The rumors are true. I'm not surprised. I am not surprised by that at all. I'm not. I know the Westerners that find out about it, though, they're going to probably call it racist and bending the knee.
Well, and among other changes, Yasuke was race swapped in Japan.
Well, at least for voice actor wise.
Right. His voice actor is a hold on, let me see if I can get that graphic up there. There it is. It's Yuichi Jose. I believe that's how you say that. I know English better than he does, maybe. But anyway, Yuichi is the voice actor for Yasuke in the Japanese version. And you might notice something pretty obvious about Yuichi, is that he is not in any way a man of African descent. Okay? Not even in the Elon Musk sense. This man's Japanese through and through, upside down and backwards, triple dipped Japanese, if you will. And so what comes across as hilarious to me is that as a fan of Kamen Rider, I know that there are black men in Japan that speak fluent Japanese that have no problem performing Yasuke's part, especially with an accent that they even asked them. And so this was a deliberate choice from Ubisoft to choose someone of a venerable. He wasn't just a random guy off the street. Yuichi Jose has a very long history of doing games with Ubisoft, with Sony, with these Japanese releases in particular, these American Japanese releases. And so this is an all-star decorated kind of guy to be doing this. Obviously, he's not some random dude. Like, unlike that Shiitake mushroom voice actor person. But this is an interesting controversy because it reverses what we've seen done to like Deku and the character from that Ghost Hunter anime, Dan, where he was that trace was done, that race swap trace was done that created a lot.
Oh, you're talking about the one for Okarun is who you're talking about. The Okarun and Momo race swap.
And so this is the reverse of that. You know, and we had so many people have a problem with Cleveland being voiced by a white man. We had so much trouble with Apu being voiced by a white man. And now you have Yasuke, after all the hustle and bustle and bluster about Yasuke being a legendary black samurai and them doing so much research into this and being so celebrated about it. in Japan, where this is based, where this is supposed to be culturally originating from. Japanese guy is playing the African guy. And I just have to laugh. I just have to laugh about it all because it's such a cosmic twist of events to happen to Ubisoft. I love it.
I just
But,
love that I love that the Japanese version has him as a servant of Nobunaga or servant and not a samurai. That just it blows my mind. And at the same time, I kind of understand. Part of me is like, I understand why they didn't do it in the global version because yeah, they would come off racist. But like at the same time, the other part of me is like, at that point, why is he here at all? Like he should just be DLC if this is going to be the case. If this all, let's be real, this all could have been avoided if Yasuke was just DLC.
Yeah, it's neither here nor there at this point, unfortunately. But there would have been better decisions made had they brought in their cultural experts and history experts earlier, because they admitted that they brought them in much later than they usually do on other projects. So
yeah.
Yasuke probably there is speculation that what happened with George Floyd fueled some of what put Yasuke as one of the protagonists, but I'm not convinced that did any more than like, this would be topical at the moment of when they were really cementing ideas about the game. And so maybe it influenced it just a little bit about the conversation around the table, but they wanted to do this to create controversy. I talk about this a lot because this is the truth of it, is that they can't get around the ad blocker. We here at Bounding Into Comics are affected by the same ad limitations that Disney is, that Sony is, that even Elon Musk is limited by. If you have an ad blocker in place, or if you have paid for a premium membership that blocks ads completely, you're unreachable by these advertising corporations. Quite literally, putting a sign on a bus isn't going to help. Putting signs on top of billboards doesn't work anymore. People are drilled in to their entertainment. And if you can't interrupt that with an ad, it's over. And so that's what's happened with why they chose Yasuke, in my opinion, is because they honestly couldn't think. If they went through with this and made an actual Japanese protagonist, people would love it. People would celebrate it. It would not get the kind of conversation that having Yasuke at the front of it has. And that's the big problem. That's why Noway's completely disappeared from the conversation for most of this whole thing, is because they knew exactly what they were doing by putting Yasuke out there in the position he was in with such overblown armor. By the way, when you're in the game playing it, remember where Yasuke is so much overdone than Nobunaga? That's not a skin. That's factory default gameplay footage. He's way over. He's got more drip, as the kids say. He's got more drip on him than Nobunaga, and he's sitting higher up on the hill than Nobunaga. So Nobunaga looks much smaller than Yasuke. So he looks like a servant of Yasuke. It is an incredibly bizarre thing to see when you know just the basics of how Japanese culture works. You just know the very basics of even how modern Japanese culture works. So speaking of that, though, we now get into the fun part of talking about Japanese politics. You ready, guys? Today, believe it or not, an actual national governing body is addressing the controversy associated with Assassin's Creed Shadows and the Shinto shrines that were depicted as being destroyed during the gameplay footage extravaganza in which streamer Scatha inadvertently, he came into our comments section and told us he was not told that that was a religious space. Of course, in the West, we don't recognize those as religious spaces because it doesn't have the kind of pomp and circumstance that a cathedral does. It doesn't look too different from a different Japanese building that may have just as much significance, but it is a different space. So this religious space was not made known to him, and he was trapped inside of a certain part of the map in order to make sure that they didn't spoil the greater part of the game. So that's how that worked. Scatha had no idea when he destroyed that shrine that was blasphemy. He had no idea. So that was not a premeditated thing on his part. There was nothing there that he was like, this would be a great idea. No. And so, but that footage has reached all the way up to the Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba, okay? Why this matters to them is for two reasons. Number one, as we all know, the Japanese take their culture very, very seriously. Okay. They are world renowned for this. Okay. Now, when we say this, people are like, oh, yes, the Japanese are very rigid. No, no, no. They're still doing 1,000-year-old tea ceremonies. They're still dressing in 1,000-year-old period recreation clothing. They're still, the Sekigahara rifle group is still performing the same routines that they were performing under Nobunaga. Okay. This is a very comfortable in their culture. Okay. They don't perform this out of a sense of duty. They legitimately love, duty's part of it, but they legitimately love who they are. Here in the West, we have a much more liquid idea of our culture, particularly in the United States and Canada. As we understand about Canada, they don't really have control of their government. They swear allegiance to the crown. But the reality is that the West has like a price tag on everything. Even Jesus Christ is mocked for profit. As Jacob has told us, we've got that lady from Wicked playing Jesus Christ now. And so this is where we are, is that in Japan, they're not going to tolerate this. Now, again, in previous Assassin's Creed games, you could go and destroy these spaces. In retrospect, as I've gone back and I've watched that footage and I've gone back and observed how I actually feel about it in the present, I actually don't like it. When you think about who these people are in the period time, it really doesn't make sense that they would just snap like that, decide, okay, I'm going to parkour inside of Notre Dame, even though 2 days ago I was a very reverent Christian. You know, and again, like, I'm going to go punch the Pope in the face. Now, again, I understand that the circumstances painted that Pope as a villain, and that was the only way to deal with him, and you don't directly murder the Pope. I understand all that's in there. But from the jump, I think it's a bad idea to paint faith as a problem. And that seems to be a recurring thing because of the Templars' origins. Don't get me wrong. Okay, I understand how Assassin's Creed works. I played the first 3 games. But when you get back tearing the veneer of it off, we're going to eventually run into this space where people who don't want to have their religion commercialized are going to fight back against it. And in my opinion, if we help the Japanese do this, we might stand a chance to claw back some of our culture back from the corporations. Do we want to go through and control what people can depict in video games and art? No. But we want to make sure that there are significant boundaries on what we find acceptable about those. Japan will make heavy laws about this. They're not going to ban the video game. Don't get that mixed up, okay? Because I'm just going to cut to the chase. Ishiba came out and he said, we're going to talk with the Foreign Affairs Ministry and we're going to talk with the Economic Affairs Ministry about this video game. That was it. He went on to talk about tourists who may be inspired by this game, but are right now currently destroying Japanese religious spaces and cultural landmarks for views, you know. As you've heard, as you've seen, Johnny Somali is a world sensation, okay? And he's one of the characters that's brought up during all of this. And so when we get into this kind of conversation about what we're putting in the video game and how Japan's reacting to this, Ishiba's not saying that the government's going to come out and go to war with France. I know that a lot of people have painted that image out in the culture, that Ishiba is just grinding his teeth, that there's a black man in a video game smashing people's heads like watermelons at a Gallagher show. But that's not, yeah, that's a throwback, right? You remember Gallagher? That's way back there with Cheech and Chong. But need a poncho to hang around in Sengoku era Japan.
I mean, look, if these people don't know who Maito Ismon is, they're definitely not gonna know who Gallagher is. I mean,
that's true. You know, that's what a crowd. But the takeaway from this is that the Japanese government is going to make laws going forward that limit what can be done with their spaces in commercialized senses. Now, fictionally, I believe that they will be putting heavy restrictions on how Shinto shrines and Japanese cultural landmarks are depicted in fiction. That's the only way I see them reacting to this. LDP, this is the second prong about why this is happening. LDP, which is the Liberal Democratic Party of Japan, they're basically the Republicans of Japan, but they have a much more loose platform, I guess. Again, loose is a bit different because, again, what we define as conservative is a bit wider in Japan. So they allow more people of different thought processes about how the government should be involved in your life to be part of the LDP because of how Japanese government is structured already. So when I tell you that they're like the Republicans, understand that it's just because they are the conservative traditionalist party. The other parties, while observe those things, do not make that part of their platform as in like the big thing that they're about. LDP has held power in Japan almost consistently since the 1950s when the Japanese, well, the US Constitution that we wrote for them, the Japanese Constitution the US wrote for Japan, was ratified. Only in the middle of the 90s and from 2009 to 2012 did another party hold power in Japan, okay? So all the problems that exist in Japan are on Shigeru Ishiba's lap, okay? And so what he's trying to do right now, because he's in the middle of a scandal about giving out gift cards, basically. It's a bit more pronounced than that. But they gave out gift cards effectively that were worth almost $100,000. So it looks very bribey, okay? It looks very bribey. And so they're trying to like chase information and attention off of that. And so I do think they will pursue this through, but they won't go after Ubisoft. There's no teeth there to do it. They won't ban the game. It's already out on shelves right now. There's nothing they can do about it. They're not going to bother with that, but they will put laws in place going forward. And I hope that our Congress will take inspiration from that and say, yeah, you know, art displays where people are pissing on the cross, art displays where people are burning the Quran, art displays where people are starving pigs, things like that, starving cows, things like that. Maybe we don't do that. Maybe we don't go out and deliberately try to piss people off of a faith with art. Now, I know there's people out there that believe in the absolute free expression. Fine and dandy. But we're running into a point now where we're just letting anything happen. When I talk about starving pigs, there was an art exhibit over in Europe that involves starving pigs in front of people. Okay, that was allowed to happen by the art gallery. He didn't just walk in and set up those pigs. They let it happen. That was sanctioned. We are at a point now where we have to say, fine and dandy, great to do in private, okay? But this is not considered art at this point. We're not going to sit here and have a visual of ants and piss all over the cross and be told that this is some kind of artistic expression. That's not going to work. In a video game where you go in and you destroy these spaces, it's just not going to be tolerated anymore. And I understand, again, free expression, you're free to allow, you're the buttons you push, that sort of thing. Ubisoft put destruction sounds and destruction geometry on these objects, knowing full well what they meant. They were placed in there for a reason. They had sound effects of being destroyed, okay? These were fully destroyable objects. You were meant to be able to have a satisfactory response when you throw a sword through it, crash through it, whatever. That's why the government's going to take this up, is because they want to reinforce their cultural roots on this. They want to be the party that champions the average Japanese, because guess what? They've been the party that's been pumping in all the damn immigrants, replacing all those damn Japanese with cheap labor. So now they've got to come through and say, hey, we're fighting for you against this video game.
I don't like.
They're trying very hard to not have their country end up becoming Japanistan. Just like,
yeah,
they're not trying to do what the Irish have already done.
Well, but LDP is the one bringing in these people. So this is the precarious thing. So when we saw earlier Shohei Kondo, which is he's a Japanese citizen that speaks English, lived in the West, so he kind of provides these translations for us. And what Shohei found out when he was talking to people who are attached to the governing body in some way or form is that they're not allowed to bring up Yasuke in their discussions about this. And I realized it's not because he's black. It's not because he's a historical figure. Nobody knows who the hell he is over in Japan. They don't learn about him. He's in these obscure books. You learn about him in deep, deep, deep history classes. But that's it. You know, what they're concerned about is the immigrant narrative. Because guess what? Yasuke's an immigrant. He's an immigrant in the video game, and he's an immigrant in real life, and he goes around destroying shrines, and guess what's happening in real life? And again, so that's what they're doing, is they're coming forward, and they're saying, hey, we are the party of tradition. This is us doing our job. Pay no attention to those Kurds that are destroying Tokyo, but we are the party of tradition. You know, and that's what's going on.
I don't agree with some of the stuff like you were saying about like the religious symbols and stuff like that. But I do agree in terms of like starving pigs, like that's a whole different story. Like that is not art. You're infringing on somebody's rights, like a living thing's rights. That's why, for example, that's why CSCM is illegal, because you're infringing on an innocent person's rights, or in this case, it'd be an innocent animal's rights. That is not artistic expression. That is pure cruelty in the case of that European exhibit. But like the other stuff, there's also context involved too, mind you. But like the majority of the stuff though, it is freedom of expression. It is, whether you like it or not. That's just how it is. Sometimes, and art makes you feel different things, whether it's good, bad, whatever. That's just how it is. That's just how sometimes art is. But in the case of the pigs though, no. That's a completely different story. You're having if it's yourself that's doing it, and you're having yourself starve and doing stuff to your own body, that's a whole different story. But when you're doing it to someone else, or like an animal or something like that, like that's too far. That goes too far.
So
I
anyway,
mean, you don't want to go full India. So I mean,
it's one of those things where,
context.
like, Troy, I'm not saying you can't burn the Quran. I'm saying you can't call it art. That's what I'm saying. You can't piss on the cross and call it art. You can't go through and light a Star of David on fire and pour pig's blood on it and call it art. That's what I'm saying.
And
That's
people
what you
who
can't
do that are cowards anyway, because it's like, if you just want to be blasphemous towards one religion or another, do that. But then don't try to like hide behind, oh, it's just art, bro. Like, stop. Please stop doing that. I'm so sick and tired of, oh, it's just art, bro, as an excuse, because it's so extremely disingenuous. It's almost worse than the act itself. It's like when you don't even have the balls to stand by what you're actually doing, knowing good and hell well exactly what you're doing in the first place.
Well, and that brings up the next thing. I forgot to grab it earlier, but it was reported that there's a day one patch for Assassin's Creed Shadows that makes the mirror and a couple of the shrine objects completely indestructible. So you can destroy the shelves that they're on, but you can't destroy those objects like you could when Scatha went through and cut the mirror down, shattered it, cut everything down. There's certain things that will be indestructible. The space will still be destructible, but certain things will be indestructible. Which I'm sure will lead to very funny things, because the game was not built to deal with that. So you're going to end up having like drums that become like rocket soccer balls that you can glitch out of the game and send it to the atmosphere, you know? So, and that, again, that's what they'll do, because people are prone to experiment in this way. But that's why, again, that's why I think it's good the Japanese come through and say, we're not going to allow this. They're a different culture than us. They can make those rigid laws. Over here, our Congress can imply that maybe it's not okay sometimes. Maybe we get to draw a line sometimes. Not all the time, but maybe we get to draw a line. Like we were talking earlier, not all the time when, like Sailor Moon, when there are girls depicted in what is implied to be undressed, but they're not exactly naked. Maybe we allow that to happen. But when somebody goes completely naked with teenage girls, we don't allow that. We don't allow that. And that's what I'm talking about, is that Ubisoft knew what they were doing when they made that shrine destructible. When they applied destruction physics to it, when they applied destruction sounds to those objects. These aren't just regular things that you find throughout the game. These are specific holy objects. And again, as I said, I went back and I watched the footage of people going around inside of these holy spaces in other games and goofing around. And I don't like it. I'm sorry. I'm just that guy. I don't like it. I understand that these were places of power in the past, but I think it's just really, you're going to end up creating an atmosphere where people devalue these spaces. And I don't understand why we need to do that and call it free expression when we can just say, you know what, this guy who has these psychic powers from space, this space stuff, these pieces of Eden he's touching, he took over Jerusalem because he has space powers. Wow. Who would have thought the guy was space powers, you know? But no, it's the fucking Pope, you know, and it's hard. It's really hard. I know. But here in the West, we have a different opinion on it because we've allowed ourselves to become so liquid with our culture. That's why. They're not. And I'd like it if we could go back to like having some reverence for like the cowboy. It'd be nice if we could go back to having some reverence for the gangster instead of like everything everywhere all the time.
the only way we could ever go back, even if it's even possible at this point in time, is that you're gonna have to hold people accountable for their actions. And when it comes down to it, people really don't want to be held accountable for their actions. They just want to be able to do as thou wilt and do whatever the hell they want and have no blowback whatsoever. And it's like, well, when you do that and you basically create a society where there's no blowback for anything that you do, you end up basically where we are right now. And where we are right now kind of sucks. So until we actually restore some, social law and order when it comes to stuff like this is only going to progress. Unfortunately, until people start putting their foot down. And I don't know, are we too far past the point of people putting their foot down, or who knows at this point? So, we'll see.
Well, like for me, when it comes to like the holy objects and stuff like that, if you're gonna have that thing, and I think it was in the previous Assassin's Creeds, comments can correct me, is that there's consequences. There's got to be consequences to these things, and because you do, as as the saying goes, you're the one that controls. You're the player. You control the buttons you press, and like with freedom of expression comes with freedom of consequences. There should be consequences to what you do in the game. That's how I kind of see it. But like the thing that gets me about this whole thing is you had Ubisoft coming out all the way with saying that we had all these cultural consultants doing this and we did this the right way, blah, blah, blah. And then it comes out that they didn't have cultural consultants. They didn't do anything. They almost didn't.
Wow, you mean they lied? Why would they ever do something like that?
Exactly.
Guys, why would they lie? Why would they lie? Why would they lie to you?
But also, you look at the gameplay that's come out and you see how like mediocre it looks, and you got to wonder, what the hell were they doing like this entire time? Were they just twiddling their thumbs or like sitting in a prayer circle or something?
Whoa. That's a 90 from Checkpoint Gaming, ma'am. Okay, you should understand that a they her let us know that it is a mug of chocolate is what this game is. It's a mug of chocolate. This is a 90 from Games Hub. Come on, Nerdigans. We can't say bad things about the game. It's a 90 by this person. And
come on, do you not trust this face?
This is a absolutely 100% perfect game by that
unregistered fornicator.
So that they right there. So he's more like Kratos from God of War, as you want your characters in Assassin's Creed to be,
It's not, like the other thing I've seen through the grapevine is that people would have just been fine if Naoe was the only MC, and that they like her a lot.
Richard brings up a good question. Is it U.S. chocolate or is it world chocolate?
Ooh.
That's a good question.
Good question. Not just that, is it Hershey chocolate or is it Godiva?
Yeah, you know what? I don't want to know. Because it's disgusting either way. Because my favorite part is that anytime anybody conservative says anything that could be mildly construed as racism, it's like you're to the face of the wall. It's over. Your life is over. This person it's a game where has one of the characters is a black protagonist, right? And she says that the game is like a big cup of hot chocolate. How about that? Somebody might interpret that as racism, but not me. I wouldn't do that. Not this guy. They. It's clearly a they.
Not this they, Legion, them.
They gave the game a 100, guys.
Solid 100.
Yeah, and The Guardian gave it 100. Famously, The Guardian didn't want to be on X anymore because X is such a naughty and batty platform. So, but they gave it a 100, The Guardian. So there you go.
Look at this social jihadist.
The eyes look evil, almost demonic. Yeah, it kind of goes with giving a game 100. Got to be some kind of possessed by something.
Aside, we were talking about leaks earlier. You know what was funny is the day before the reviews came out, IGN Brazil's review leaked, and it gave the game a 9 out of 10. Now IGN US, on the other hand, gave it an 8 out of 10.
Racism.
Well,
Clearly.
it's sort of like, you know, I'm pretty sure some of you guys have seen the so-called early reviews for Snow White.
Oh,
And the early
yes.
reviews were all like, "Oh my God, this is amazing! Rachel Zegler just so glowing in this role. She's just so amazing." I'm not sure if you guys have checked. The last time I hit up Rotten Tomatoes, the real reviews have started to trickle out, and the real reviews have it at a 45%. So
Yep.
it's almost as if all of those early reviews that came out earlier this week were completely full of crap and or paid off by Disney themselves.
Oh, not only that, you saw the theater seats for Walt Disney World theaters for Snow White. There's only like 4 seats purchased, and
Oh,
that's
you're
a
talking about
Disney World.
marks. Jeez. Talk about marks. Go to Disneyland to watch a Disney movie? Jeez. You
Hey,
are
those
bought and
people out
paid
there who
for.
spend $400 just they could take home one of those collectible ears. It's like, you know, they're probably bigger marks than pro wrestling. I think the only place on earth that has bigger marks than pro wrestling is Disneyland parks.
Disneyland, yeah. I was gonna say because I don't have it up right now, but I used to make fun of the guys on Geeks of Gamers because Disney posted this like they're like you buy a ticket you get a free Sunday or whatever kind of thing. They're bait and switch for your ticket, and it's made to look like Lightning McQueen, and one of his wheels is meant to be a donut, but it looks like his butthole. So you're you're getting a Lightning McQueen butthole Sunday from Disneyland with your ticket.
Disney World marks are they are a lot worse than Disneyland. They got to be at the park like right when the new ears drop, right when the new pins drop. It is wild.
I mean, right now, I'm literally looking at, you know, the Thursday because the movie comes out tomorrow officially, right? So I'm looking at all of like the prime time time periods.
Same day as
I'm talking about-
Assassin's Creed.
and how many tickets they sold. So here's what it looks like. And this is a pretty solidly packed theater. This isn't like one of those middle of nowhere theaters. 5 o'clock, there are officially 3 tickets sold to the 5 o'clock. There's a 6:30 where no tickets have been sold whatsoever. A 7 o'clock where 4 tickets have been sold. A 7:30 where no tickets have been sold whatsoever. 8 o'clock, 5 tickets sold for the 8 o'clock. The 9:30, no tickets whatsoever. The 10 o'clock, no tickets whatsoever. And then the 10:30, no tickets whatsoever. So even if I were to like, maybe it's better on a Friday because, you know, that's where all the kids are. Friday, 4 tickets sold for 5 o'clock. 6:30, you got about 10 tickets sold for 6:30. So I mean, it's a big theater, but they got 10 tickets sold there, so that's an improvement. This one's 7 o'clock. They have 5 tickets sold. 7:30, about 9. 8. What do we have for 8 here? 5. 9:30, none at all. 10 o'clock, none at all. So that's what it's tracking at least in the theater near me. North of the Atlanta area. So obviously there's other theaters out there that could be a lot different, but it doesn't look like it's tracking very well. I mean, you've seen people post social media pictures all week long saying that, hey guys, like there's literally nobody at my screening for the upcoming Snow White. It's almost like no one watched this movie at all, and that's not a good thing for a movie which didn't they confirm the budget was somewhere like around like what 300-ish million dollars for this monstrosity?
I think so.
Look it up. Hold on.
But like, I do want to point this out.
It's about
as well.
270 for the production.
Oh. And they were saying that they were trying to project like global box office for what, like 110 million for the opening weekend?
Mm-hmm.
It's not happening.
Good luck there, buddy. Good luck there, bucko.
So to put this into perspective, for Gal Gadot just to be in the movie, $15 million. That's how much they paid her to be in the movie.
She got paid less than to be in that Red Notice movie on Netflix to be in Snow White.
Yep. Yeah, that's how it goes. Netflix has all the money in the world, as you know, but unlike Elon Musk. Anyway, the This is they originally came out and told us they were going to do these circus freaks as the merry men, which were not so men, by the way. And then they decided, oops, that was dumb, and they CGI'd a bunch of dwarves because it was not a good idea to hire dwarves for dwarf roles, because who would ever do that, Peter Dinklage?
I mean, guys, now I'm looking at the Atlantic Station. For those of you guys who are in the Atlanta area,
All you
Atlantic Station
guys.
is like all you guys, all four of you who are listening to the show right now. For all you guys in the Atlanta area who know Atlantic Station, that's basically like the go-to movie theater, like in like the main area here in Atlanta, and the numbers for Atlantic Station are not much better than they are for the one that's far closer to me. And I'm just looking at this going like, ooh, it's like Disney might be on that low side of that, prediction number that they had here. They were predicting like 50 million domestically and maybe like another 50 worldwide. It's like you guys may be even lower than that, because unless Disney's scooping up their own tickets, I'm not seeing a huge demand for this movie whatsoever right now.
And you know what sucks about the whole thing is that they are trying to get the day the world blew up pulled for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's
they
the
also
Looney Tunes movie, by the way.
Wait, what?
That's the Looney Tunes movie, by the way. Just people might not know.
And the thing is, though, the day the world blew up is having a similar situation that that anime movies are having. Is there's no marketing, no one knew it came out, and they're trying to like force it out for something else. So it's not just anime that Hollywood is having a problem with. It's animated movies in general. They do not want them in theaters for some reason, or at least Disney doesn't want non-Disney movies at the very least.
Well, the we're entering this phase now. Like I said earlier, people are tired of the agenda, and Hollywood is a big ship to turn. Hollywood's a big ship to turn, so it's going to take a few years for them to catch up with the cultural zeitgeist. Because it takes about 3 years to make these goofy movies now. Not the Goofy movie; it didn't take that long, but these goofy movies do take about 3 years to make now. They could speed run some of them, like your Netflix shows that do the CGI on the spot stuff, But a lot of them, the post production takes about a year now, between casting and writing and getting everybody, in position and filming all of it and marketing it. It takes about 3 years to get the damn thing going. And so, this is where we're going to be for another about 16 months or so. Is they're going to continue to put out stuff like this that is appealing to that like 2020 market that kind of like has a hangover, if you will, from the pandemic. Because we're still dealing with pandemic movies, by the way. Okay, not movies about a pandemic, but movies that were intended or at least started during the pandemic and were delayed because of it. So this is another product of that. This is a thing that was on the docket back in 2020, and then whoops, So
Matt said, "Can we get Jacob to rate Rachel Zegler's furry back on a scale of 1 to 10? You mean 10 being the most hairy, or what's the scale here?" Yeah, I mean, how many more things of Rachel Zegler do you need to not like at this point? It's like, do we need more things? Like, don't we have enough at this point?
Well, and Brave New World beat Black Widow. I was like, oh, how about that? Well, that's good. The news: the Cubs aren't going to the World Series. In other news, but or are they? I don't know. I don't pay attention. But hell may be freezing over. Who knows? But are we into it or not? Give it a 6. He gives it a 6. Okay. Well, either way. Like I said, though, this could take a while to turn around. Hollywood is not in any mood to change themselves. They're fighting Trump on every front, and this is going to include fighting his Hollywood czars. Even if they are storied and respected actors, they are still going to be treated like trash because they are the lapdog of the president. So right now, I don't think we need czars. I think we need street judges to go in there and take care of Hollywood, Judge Dredd style. Weinstein's not the law. I'm the law, Oprah's not the law. I'm the law.
Well, I mean, SAG-AFTRA doubled down on DEI, so because that because they don't like Trump, obviously. But yeah, SAG-AFTRA doubled down on their commitment to DEI, and they're saying that it's like going to be part of their mission and whatnot. I'm just like, you guys are freaking stupid. Even Kitty knows they're being stupid.
Ravul Arvida, member of the channel, says most anime movies air on Australia cinemas for only 2 weeks. The big shonen movies, however, have a screen time between about 4 to 8 weeks. So
Australia has better anime theatrical runs than we do. We're lucky to get it for 2 days.
one would hope anyway, they're a little closer.
Oh, but I do have an update in regards to the Hatsune Miku movie. So G-Kids just announced that the US release date for Colorful Stage, the movie Miku Who Can't Sing, is coming out. It has been moved to April 17th through the 20th. And the ticket sales start on March 27th. And it's there's no dub. It's only going to be Japanese with subs only.
Hopefully there's more of that. We don't know. We'll have to wait and find out. But we do have Leslie Tarkin does bring up that Lilo and Stitch will make people forget about Snow White. I don't think people are even thinking about Snow White, to be honest with you. Like, I know that the Fellowship talks about it because it's the current thing that's happening in Hollywood, but your man on the street, I guarantee you, has no clue what the hell this is, it's even happening. There's no way to advertise, as I said before. There's no way to advertise. If you're ad free, there's no way to get you unless your YouTube channels that you're watching are into that. So if you're a sports guy and all you watch is sports stuff, Snow White's not coming across your dashboard. Granted, I know it's not made for guys that are into sports stuff, but as far as marketing reach goes, this is just an example of how limited it is. And so I don't think so. I think Lilo and Stitch is just going to show up and do its own thing. People are going to be like, Snow what? They made a Snow White movie? No way. Probably sucked. And that's what they're going to do. They're not even going to give it a chance. And that for a good reason, Maybe this will end up in the Disney vault with Song of the South. They'll just they'll just put it up there away forever with Zippity Doodah, never be heard from again. But
yeah, so I think Disney knew that they were probably going to lose their ass on this film. They tried to right the ship as best as they could, but this was never going to be a success. From the very moment you attached this, what can I say here on you? Can I say knuckle dragger? Can I say knuckle dragger on here?
Sure, why not?
This knuckle dragger to this puddle sniffing doofus. The second you attach this woman to be the lead for this film, your film was dead on arrival. You had absolutely no shot whatsoever.
Well, Steven Spielberg is the one that went and found her, so ultimately he's the fellow to blame for all of this.
Yeah.
Thanks, Spielberg.
Yeah, thanks, you dick.
So, some of you may have seen this going around, and this will be one of the things that closes out the show. But this is Lost Media Request. It says, in 2002, 20th Century Fox bought the film rights to Dragon Ball Z and attached a teaser trailer to Like Mike. It featured Tim Allen as the lead of the film. Only a few screenshots exist, but I would love to see if anybody has the actual video anywhere.
Well, Geekdom 101 said that was fake. So.
Right. And we had about 3 seconds of disbelief there, so that was neat. We got about 3 seconds of it. Appreciate that. But yeah, so it's not real. We're going to have a nice little joke about, wow, Tim Allen, like Nick Cage, but nah, we're not going to do that. So anyway, yeah, Tim Allen as Goku is not real, apparently, but maybe we could cross our fingers. It's somewhere out there.
It needs to be community noted. But yeah, that post is not real. Or that thing is not real. It has been confirmed to be fake by like Geekdom 101.
You know it is real. It will always be real no matter how much you deny it. Dragon Ball Evolution. Deal with it.
Yep.
You know what will always be real is that Split Fiction is actually doing really well, and people some people can't. Well, I should be saying it like this: certain grifting tourists can't handle that Split Fiction is doing well. There we go.
Do you think Tim Allen can do a good Kamehameha wave?
Probably could do it.
I don't know. Truthfully, I was more interested in hearing him try to fuse the Tim the Tool Man noise with powering
Or
up.
the
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, some of that. But who knows? Now that joke died on arrival. Disney Plus is apparently going to be airing Power Rangers. So Power Rangers found its way back to Disney, and they're going to try and make a live action Power Rangers, which apparently has never been done before. I don't understand why this is part of the headline. Live action Power Rangers. Whoa, never been done before, guys. But yeah, the guys behind Percy Jackson and the whatever affair, whatever it is that's going on right now, they're gonna head it up, and I don't think it's gonna happen. Netflix bombed out of this. Paramount's apparently working on a movie, and now somehow Disney Plus is involved with these rights.
Can we just stop? Like, can we just stop at this point? Like, who do I have to talk to just like make this all end? Talk to just. Oh, I guess. Remember when we did the review for that Netflix Power Ranger thing a couple of years ago when they brought back all the 50-year-olds? Tried to do kung fu and it didn't work very well because like David
once and always,
and then oh god, now I'm remembering plot points about that movie that I suppressed for several months.
A Disney line, by the way. Once a ranger, always a ranger. A Disney line.
I have a jug of water here, and when I read headlines like this, I just want to like open the jug and then waterboard myself. So that's
it is. It's equivalent to that feeling for sure. Are the Power Rangers still popular? Well, on the initial post about this, there were 23,000 likes within 5 hours. My guess is that yes, but probably not to the effect that it used to be, and not to the marketing success that it used to be. They have pushed very hard to retain an adult audience, and it cost them the franchise. So this is reportedly going to be yet another attempt at a full reboot. I don't believe it. Again, I don't think they'll come through with it because current thinking on children's entertainment or entertainment that involves children's properties is to turn it on its head, is to upend it and, take away people's expectations, do that whole thing that Rian Johnson was proud of in The Last Jedi. That's how people treat this stuff now. Look at Minecraft. I was watching another like sweepstakes giveaway and they're involving little Sheldon in it. And I was like, they think that every kid playing Minecraft has autism. That's literally what they think this is. And so this is what they're doing. They've turned it all on its head. They've just flipped it all on its head. And that's what they'll do with Power Rangers, is because they can't, again, these guys at the head of it may have very good ideas, but when it comes to the management of the brand, Hasbro has a very different idea of how the Power Rangers should be executed. Netflix couldn't find its way into that after 5 years of fucking around, okay? 5 years of that. They didn't even produce a script or a casting call in 5 years of Netflix trying to produce this reboot. I highly doubt Disney Plus is going to be able to do it. How much dedicated wham? Yeah.
I mean, just the sheer fact that we're relying on Disney to give us hope. It's just like, this is just where we are.
I'm not hope at all. No, I saw what they did to Doctor Who. There's no hope. This is like going from the fire into the blender.
I've seen this movie.
Yeah, this is like going from the frying pan into the blender. Like there's no fire, there's no escape. You're going into the blender, dude. You're getting food processed. This is over. And that's they run the Percy Jackson show right now. Those two guys are running the Percy Jackson show. So I mean, again, like they're engaged with children's media, and like I said, they may have some good ideas. But when it comes to the brand management of this, Hasbro wants to make sure that they are running a political agenda on every which way they could stuff into this franchise. And it's just not, it isn't just Simon that did that. They got exposed for running critical race theory back before the pandemic. Now, I'm not saying the pandemic was caused by Hasbro, but back before the pandemic, Project Veritas exposed them.
Can't prove that's not.
Well, They do make things in China, so there's a good chance. But they had embraced critical race theory from top to bottom, and it was a black employee that was insulted by the behavior that was expressed toward him during all of these training efforts that he came forward and told James O'Keefe about all this. And again, it's not that they're trying to stuff black people into every Power Rangers thing. That doesn't matter. It's from the get-go, it was a Gap ad. It didn't have any like racial quota to Power Rangers. It was trying to take an instant snapshot of what American kids looked like all at once. It didn't try to put together something that, odds are you're not going to run into a multiracial, multi-religious, multi-background group of kids as you're wandering around your neighborhood. But Power Rangers wanted to present a future or possible alternative world where that was possible, where people that had dramatically different lives were perfectly comfortable with one another. And so, again, Hasbro can't communicate that without running an agenda through it. I remind you, they had to go so far with their first lesbian ranger to have her tear off the skirt of a suit that never had a skirt on it. Okay, that's how crazy they went with it. They got a GLAAD award for that, by the way. Okay, and they're very proud of that.
Of course.
And so it's very stupid. It's a very stupid situation to find yourself in. But that's why that's why the Power Rangers isn't going to be a success. The current political thinking about it turns it on its head, and there's no way to execute Power Rangers as anything other than a children's property that's full of camp, full of hope, and full of aspirational concepts. Anything otherwise, it just drifts immediately into parody. You can't have people doing serious adult shit wearing vibrant colored spandex and jumping around in giant robots. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
Japanese stock footage playing in the background. Don't forget that. Too.
They won't do that. They'll go ground up with their own concept. But we saw this with that hyper realistic, hyper regressive version that Kate Sackhoff was in, the Power Rangers that Kate Sackhoff was in, where they had the eyeballs and the helmets.
Oh my God, that's creepy.
Yeah, the child soldier angle on them. So it just became so ridiculous on its face. These are the people that were telling you to brush your teeth. These are the people telling you not to do drugs. Mm-hmm. And if you did karate, someday you might be a Power Ranger too. They were not going around and like executing one another because a war went sideways. And that's not at all. And that's why it runs into parody immediately.
It's just a damn shame because Disney, for those of you that remember, Disney actually did some really good Power Rangers. They had some fantastic ones. They had Space PD. They had RPM. They had Time Force. I think they did Lightspeed Rescue, which was good too. And it's just a goddamn shame that you have this situation where we could be having some really good Power Rangers again, but this Disney is not the same Disney that had Power Rangers back in the day. This is a whole different crapshoot. So I have no faith in this. If this was the Disney back in the day, I'd be like totally all over it. Be like, sweet, we're gonna get a new Power Rangers. It's gonna be really cool. We'll get like some really good concepts, maybe like a serious story from it, because we had some really dark stories from the Disney Power Rangers, some really, really dark ones if you think about RPM. But in the case of RPM, but still, it's like we're not going to get that now because of all the agenda pushing.
Look, no one's gonna say this, so I'm just gonna say it here. We can dance around this all that we like. Power Rangers peaked at this very moment right here. It never got any better than this moment at any point since past 1995. This was it. This was our magnum opus, and then everything was just completely downhill from there. And you can fight this reality all you want.
Magnum opus, I'm sorry.
And you can fight this reality all you want, but let the history show.
As far as Hollywood's
like
concerned,
30 years is gone.
It's 30 years now. 1995 has been been a while, bud. But
a little bit.
Obama's not in office anymore. Okay, it's over. We're safe
Clinton's
now.
not in office anymore.
Yeah, right. But Dulcia, again, like this was for Hollywood's concern. Yeah, it was the Power Rangers never got any better than this. Turbo, when it hit theaters, was not great. Even though it had like some really nice boobies in it, like they saw the success of Dulcia and they were like, but what if we push that PG-13 to the absolute limit? And that was okay. That was fun. That was my little boy brain was like, I don't
Like,
know why I
are
like
you-
Diva Talks.
Like, are you sure that this is a show for kids? Like it is now.
Yeah, like, you know, I didn't get to see it in theaters because it just didn't make its way up in the main for distribution, but I got it on VHS and like I'm watching that and my little boy brain's like, I like Diva Talks. I don't know why. She's really fun and I don't want her to go away. And she wasn't defeated at the end of the movie.
Even as a wee little lad, I remember watching that movie in the theaters, and we get to the end with the Zord fight, and I just go, "What the hell is this?" If you guys have not seen the Zord battle from the movie, it does not hold up very well. It's just full disclosure.
They didn't know how to shoot miniatures, and that was the problem. Is that when they shot it like just two dudes on a beach beating the hell out of each other in costumes, and that just it comes through as that immediately.
It was like you would have literally have been better off just putting two guys in a costume and like building a set that looks like a giant city. And it is not. It literally would have come out far better if they had just went like full practical effects versus no. Let's just do the whole thing in 1995 CGI.
Yep. Yeah. As Timon points out here. Yep. They CGI Zords and Zoids were horrible. Yeah. And JDF was the ultimate ranger. That's true. They'll never produce another. They'll never produce another like him. Because again, the franchise, they dug the franchise into Mighty Morphin too deep. Anything they do now is still going to have roots in something to do with Zordon, something to do with Rita, something to do with Angel Grove. Anything they reboot is obviously going to go back there. They don't have a choice. They don't have a choice. They pushed so hard for so long in damn NPR, and that's what killed the franchise. There are 28 other Power Ranger teams. And not one of them is allowed to shine because somebody somewhere had a dino coin and said, it's morphin' time. And that's it. That's over. We can't say nobody else is allowed to say it. Yeah, I don't even think that Lord Zed's ever going to come back either because like
the voice of Zed is dead. So I mean at this point there's no.
They don't care about that. They'll just AI him. You think Robert Axelrod's contract had anything about AI in it?
Bring him back to life of AI.
Yeah, that's what they, James Earl Jones's voice is back. When he's dead, his AI thing's not going away. You know that. They hold on to that as long as they held on to Spider-Man. The whole thing is that they're not going to bring that character back because of Google results. Okay? We've now reached a point. When we were growing up, they wanted to divorce the actor from the movie. They wanted you to pay attention to the brand. This is the Ghostbusters brand. These actors are in the Ghostbusters right now. This is the Transformers brand. These actors are in the Transformers brand right now. They don't want you to pay attention to the actors. The actors are just sort of set pieces. Problem is the brands have become so threadbare that when you advertise a Transformers movie, people go, okay, now I'll see you later. All right, I'll catch it in clips. Some review channel will tell me all about it. I'll see you later. So that's the problem. So now they're trying to run these actors. That's why Zendaya's in everything. That's why Carl Urban's back playing a fucking superhero again, even though he's almost 60. They're just, all these different things are coming off the rails because there's no new Hollywood blood. So what are they going to do with Power Rangers? They're not going to give you they're not going to break away from Mighty Morphin because guess what gets the Googles? Mighty Morphin. They're not going to break away from Rita because guess who gets the Googles? Rita. Guess who gets the Googles? Green Ranger. You're never going to see the White Ranger in media again. Never.
Nope.
Never ever. Because he doesn't get the same Google results as the Green Ranger does.
Yep. Not only that, but the White Ranger's problematic now. I mean,
yes, true. We can't have him running around saying white power. So.
Yeah.
But that's where you're at. Like these beautiful women like Dulcia are characters you'll never see again because Dulcia represents feminine strength. At no point does she cross the barrier into being masculine. She doesn't.
No.
Watch how she fights.
If they would do her to now, she would be a bald black woman.
That carries around like the big howitzer blaster gun that Jen had in Time Force. It's ridiculously
they would get the girl
oversized
from
gun.
Wicked to play her in 2025.
Yeah, and again, like, yeah, we only saw Dulcia once, and again, like Dulcia was a character that they didn't know what to do because she was over sexualized to begin with. You can't really like how Diva Talks' cleavage was like indiscriminate between the movies and TV show. Similarly, how Dulcia just couldn't appear on screen. That's why she was replaced by Ninjor. Not just because of the footage, but also because sexy woman children's show, little different here in the West. Moms of
Hey,
America.
all I'm saying is that by 1995 they needed the rating, so maybe we should have worked that one out if you want to keep
The
going
best
a few
thing,
years longer.
if you're forced to do MMPR, right? The best
Mhm.
thing you could do is open up that movie with an actress meant to be Dulcia, not a lookalike. Just do it all over again in the midst of battle. You open it up with Dulcia, just clapping cheeks on the battlefield. And then you move into you introduce her as the standard of what a ranger is. That's why Zordon has her in the order of Meridian. So then you can organize around like what the philosophy of battle is while doing this whole girl power thing. Okay, works perfectly fine. But the problem is they won't do that. They'll make her a Mary Sue like Rey. If they feature her in the battlefield, she'll just be conquering hundreds of people at a time and doing it cockily, as opposed to using the pipes to scare off the Tengu. She didn't kill any of them. Remember that? She didn't kill a single one of the Tengu warriors. She scared them off with the pipes. But they won't allow that to come back around again. Because again, the Power Rangers weren't supposed to kill in life, really. They weren't supposed to kill. The monsters being destroyed was evil being vanquished, but they weren't supposed to kill. That's why you don't see them murdering trapped humans.
They don't rip the heart out of the putties and then squeeze the blood into their faces like amateurs.
Just punch them in the chest, which if you practiced in real life will cause a heart murmur and kill your friend. But whoops.
Power Rangers should have been a little more clear about how deadly this actually is. In fact,
well, they did that. That's the problem is that they eventually had to do that at the end of some of the episodes. They'd be like, the violence you saw today is not violence you should practice. And if you're interested in learning more about martial arts and practicing it safely, get involved with your local kung fu, and that kind of thing.
If you and your 10-year-old retard friend try to punch each other in the chest, there will be serious ramifications.
Your brother will die. Yes, you'll get all of his Pokemon cards, but you'll also have a dead brother. So, I mean, weigh that option as you will, okay? At least
somebody will take your stereo when you die.
Who would the best pickup for Jason? Who would be the best pick rather for Jason and Tommy if they had? I can't tell you because I don't know any young actors. They're just not allowed to exist. Tom Holland is the youngest actor I know.
You couldn't do it. I mean, the 2017 Power Rangers movie attempted to do so, even with like a low, but even if you try to do it as seriously as possible, you're never going to replace Austin St. John and Jason David Frank. You're just not going to. So it would be a fruitless endeavor to even try.
Right.
You're not going to replace Amy Jo Johnson as Kimberly. You're just not going to do it. Like even old Botox face, Billy Yost. Like you're not going to replace him. Like those characters are way too iconic for what they play.
Oh God, they're gonna watch. They will use TikTokers with 3 million followers. I was thinking Timothy Chalamet too. They're gonna try and get Timothy Chalamet and Tom Holland somewhere.
Tom Holland, yeah, exactly.
Zendaya
will be the Pink Ranger because, of course.
She'll be Rita.
No, she can't be Rita because Rita's a bad person. You can't have a black woman play a villain.
Oh no, she'll be entering her power phase.
Nah.
Okay, all right. Well, she'll be the Pink Ranger that nobody likes. One of few, by the way. But that's what I just have to say about it. Is I just don't I don't think that it's possible, like Jacob said, to A, recast these guys, and B, tell a story with those new actors, because the 90s are sort of the exemplary of who Jason and Tommy are. Those two, that attitude doesn't exist now. It's not, again, that sporty boys don't exist. It's not that they're effeminate across the board or anything like that. It's just that they have a vastly different way of communicating their masculinity now, and it's not in these head-to-head tournaments anymore. Tommy and Jason would be fighting each other through VR in the modern world. They would not be having kung fu competitions. Those still exist. They absolutely do. But in the popular zeitgeist, people don't think about that anymore. The 90s, that stuff was everywhere. Kawasaki Ninja, the Beverly Hills Ninja, Kabuki Samurai, Samurai Cop. There was a lot of conversation about this wacky Asian stuff. And that's not the case anymore. Granted, anime is very popular here, but anime has been baked into the culture. It's not foreign to us anymore. It's just from Japan in the same way that your television is, or China.
Yeah, exactly. China.
Well, also remember we grew up with Jason and Tommy in other series. I mean, we saw them in Zeo. We saw Tommy in I think I really liked Tommy in Dino Thunder. That just like for me that felt like Tommy's magnum opus, if you will, was Dino Thunder. Because he was the mentor. He got to be a ranger and a mentor at the same time. It just was Dino Thunder was so good.
Nerdigans likes Tommy when he's at his max dad energy.
Oh god damn it.
Who would have ever have guessed?
He was at his peak Lincoln Park during that era. So yeah.
She's got a point though. This is the only Tommy that roundhouse kicked a Tyrannosaurus Rex in the face to
That's
defend
true.
a high school filled with children. So she's got a point. He did not ever do that any time before in Power Ranger history. And he did a lot of shit, but he never roundhouse kicked a living Tyrannosaurus Rex in the face. So, and that's in the opening. That's the first episode. So, you know, you got a point about Delcia though, and we'll never see another character like her associated with the franchise, unfortunately.
We'll never see another character like Astronema or Jen from Time Force. We'll never see those kinds of strong feminine women.
Not with this franchise. Not with this one. Because again, like Power Rangers is just so far down the MMPR train that there's just no way they can break out of it and embrace any of the other franchises without it being some kind of time travel adventure. People just don't know about those other times. Right. Well, they could blend that kind of stuff together, but people don't know what the hell Time Force is. They don't know. They don't even know what the hell Zeo is. Bring up Zeo with people who only know Mighty Morphin. They don't have any clue. They know it existed. They don't care. Yellow Flash is one of these guys that's a MMPR absolutist. The other ones are nice and all, but MMPR is the one that he cares about and wants to see exploited the most. Well, exploited in a way that's satisfying to him. Let's put it that way. And so, again, that's a prevailing theory with a prevailing opinion, rather, with a lot of these people that drop a lot of money on this franchise. And so they're going to keep with those guys. I promise you, there will not be a single solitary reference to Andros, the In Space, or any of those characters, despite how massively influential that role in that show was for that entire franchise. They can't acknowledge it. It opens up the world way too big for them to try and control at that point. Rita's not a threat anymore when you've got characters like Scorpionus out there, when you've got Dark Spectre out there. Lord Zed's fucking nothing when you've got Dark Spectre out there. He's the literal embodiment of evil. He's a giant lava monster in space. You know? He's got Terminator face too. You know, you can't get not Predator face. He's got that split jaw from Predator face. It can't even, there's no arguing with that character being the ultimate evil. So they can't do it. They can't open up the world any further than Turbo. And Turbo's not even really, it's really just a DLC for Power Rangers. It doesn't really advance the plot much. The mythos, if you will. And that's kind of what the problem is they're stuck. Look at how they tried to introduce the Zeo Crystal before. They had no idea of how to explain it, and they ended up burying it under a donut shop. They have no idea what to do with the greater mythos of Power Rangers beyond the Saved by the Bell parts. They have absolutely every idea of how to have all this high school drama. Oh, I sent a picture of my vagina. Now I'm in detention. Cool. That's a really neat backstory for the female protagonist character. Cool.
Mm-hmm. That's totally relatable.
You want children to like this, do you? Yeah. Oh, the other female protagonist is a lesbian that's having a fight with her mother about it, who thinks she's a psychotic drug addict and tries to piss test her halfway through the movie. Then she gets molested by the space witch from the bottom of the ocean. Yeah, okay. That was all in like the old same movie, by the way. That wasn't two different movies.
Somebody thought that this was a good idea.
Right, and when it gets to the people wearing helmets and doing kung fu, it goes off the rail. They don't know what to do with it.
And not to mention Goldar being a literal liquid gold monster at the end.
Because it was too ridiculous to have a giant cat man with wings going, "Oh, fuck you in the butt, Power Rangers." You know?
They just, like, these people just don't know how to handle tokusatsu. Let's be real. I think the majority of the people that were doing that movie, and probably, I don't know if these people in particular don't like them or feel this way, but they don't care about this stuff at all. They just want a
Look,
paycheck.
can we all just admit that Power Rangers was a mistake? Like, in its core, it was like 30 plus years ago, a group of guys came together and be like, hey, what if we had American teenagers co-opted with Japanese stock footage and then created a television show based off of that? It's like, oh, that will never sell. Then it became like the biggest thing ever for like 2 years. And I was like, oh my God, we're making so much money. How do we keep this thing going? It's like, I got an idea, a movie. And then they came out with the movie, and it was like, what do we do next? Like, I don't know. And then everything just fell apart. That's basically Power Rangers in a nutshell, right?
Yeah, that is it's kind of what happened with Sonic. It's kind of what happened with Sonic. Sonic did really well, and then they had some new ideas about Sonic, and then it just stopped. Here in the United States, flatly Hollywood refuses to understand tokusatsu, like most Japanese cinema. It just flatly refuses to understand it and just ruthlessly Americanizes it. It's why, for whatever reason, we have to have live action Naruto. Because even though the franchise was born out of a manga and communicated to the world through an anime, most of the fans come through it through an anime. We've got to make it live action because American audiences won't understand it otherwise.
Even though they did watch it on Toonami when they were younger. So
exactly.
It was there.
The reason why people like Naruto is because it was an anime. That's how they know
it. Was on Toonami, and people liked it, and people liked watching it on Toonami. It's like these people just don't. These people are boomers. Let's be real. These people are mostly boomers that don't understand anything. God, it feels weird saying
they might
that,
not even be boomers. They're just people that don't have a fascination with tokusatsu to begin with, Japanese cinema on the second hand. We heard this from Simon Bennett, the former showrunner of Power Rangers before the franchise was cut off by Hasbro. Simon admitted that he laughed at Super Sentai scenes, that the other writers couldn't take it seriously with the rubber suits and tiny toys running around fighting each other. And it was very difficult for them. He didn't really like Super Sentai because of how fake it was to him. And it's sort of like putting people who don't like WWE in charge of it, people who see wrestling as fake in charge of making wrestling shows, okay? They automatically are going to approach it from a perspective of it being inferior in its current form. And we can't do that. The reason why it's popular to begin with, the reason why you have a job in interpreting it, is because it's already popular. Duh. And this is just a formula that they can't get. The shows that we remember from Power Rangers the most, aside from Mighty Morphin, of course, being the first and in space and those Saban seasons, like Time Force, SPD, Lost Galaxy,
RPM.
Not so much RPM, but like no, not even Ninja Storm. Well, no, I'm just trying to explain. These were more like one-to-one adaptions from the Super Sentai itself. These were very close in plot and construction and flow to how it was. They had certain adaptation changes due to the topic at hand. Like one of the episodes about terminal illness was transformed into a quirky dating episode because, again, leveling children in America with terminal illness is something that we don't think kids are able to comprehend without being scarred by, apparently, in a children's show, because it obviously wasn't going to get into the nitty-gritty of having this kid go through a brutal, gory surgery on camera, obviously. But it was one of those episodes that pulled on your heartstrings, and so they were like, oh, screw this, Nadira goes on a date. And that's what they did with that episode. They recut it to make it into a quirky date episode. And so, again, you run into Time Force. SPD stays pretty close, but not all the way. It had a lot of toys it wanted to add in, so it takes diversions through that. But a lot of the plot line follows a lot of what happened in the Super Sentai series. And that is because the original media is superior. Not because the Japanese are any better at telling these stories, because again, we could tell them. It's not like the Japanese have the corner on the market that only they can tell these stories. Obviously, that's not true. But when it comes down to transforming this media for American audiences, we need to stick with the source material. Obviously. And that's just not what we're doing, and they're not going to do that. They're going to create their own brand new Power Rangers, and it's going to suck because they don't know what tokusatsu is. They don't understand the spirit behind aspirational heroism. If you don't get that, you're not going to get Power Rangers. It's that simple. That's 5 people, or a 6th one later on, that agreed to lay down their lives in service of humanity, most of the time in secret. Now, again, we understand this as superheroes over here in the West, but these people don't have powers. They're not billionaires. They're not trained by the League of Shadows. Most of the time, they're like 18, 19 years old college kids, if not in high school. So again, we have to, people don't really, a lot of these guys behind the creation of this stuff don't understand it at the foundation. They don't like it at the foundation. They can't put themselves in the mindset of somebody that would lay down their lives for other people. And so that's why it turns into a teenage melodrama for them.
Yep. I can't even argue anything about that.
Yeah, no, like I said, most of them are like, 18, 19 years old in the show, but there's some of them that are like straight up in high school, young kids, don't have their license yet kind of stuff. Absolutely. Yeah. Again, that exists in the show, but it's aspirational fiction. So you can believe that a high schooler that does not have his driver's license can save the day, and that the U.S. military would not be able to intervene with that or assist. Okay.
I remember the story being
because you little kid.
Remember the was it the dino cycles or something like that, like the little like motorcycles they brought in like season 3 or something like that.
Yeah, the shark cycle shark
cycles.
Like that.
Shark cycles. Yeah, that was basically their way of like, hey, look, we can't keep reusing the same stock footage of like these little color beams going to the command center because that whole thing ended 3 years ago. It's like, oh, I got an idea. Here's how we work around this, because it kind of came from Kaku Ranger as well. It's like, we'll give them shark cycles. That should get us some new toy sales, right?
Well, they made a whole. They made Zayu 3 in Japan. This is how successful Power Rangers was. They called over to Super Sentai's headquarters in Toei in Japan and said, "Hey, man, we need some more of that Zeo Ranger stuff." And they were like, "You got it all." And they're like, No. We need like you to make more of it." They're like, "Well, no. We've made more of it. Here's Die Ranger." And they're like, No. This is way too violent. But we like that white guy. Can we work him into this stuff? And they're like, "No, we've made we've moved on. That's like 2 things ago." And so they paid them to recreate the Zeo Ranger stuff. And some of it was sent back from California as it was sent over for the Power Ranger filming. But they recreated all that shit and redid that whole thing over again, including the scenes where you see the Thunder Megazord performing with the Mighty Morphin Megazord.
Yeah.
Crazy how much money that Saban just poured into this, knowing that there was a complete other season just sitting there staring them in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just, no, the Tyrannosaurus, that's the best one. I can't. And yet they keep doing dinosaur series in Japan. So obviously the Tyrannosaurus was being the best one all the time. Who knew? But it is what it is, and that is the 11 o'clock hour for us. We are going to keep talking about the Assassin's Creed stuff here on the channel. As you guys know, it's going to continue being a topic of conversation as the game goes for sale tomorrow for regular plebes like you and me that don't have premium access to this stuff. So we're going to see a lot more crazy stuff come out. One of the most curious things about all of these romances that I noticed is that nobody decided they wanted to fuck the fat chick.
It's almost
Kinda
like
sucks.
they're racist or something. The racist, that's the thing, right?
Racist against fat people.
Well, they're fat phobic.
Right. Fat people are a race.
I like to think that fat people are just their own race of people.
Yeah.
That way we can go
They were in Wall-E. They were in Wall-E. They were their own race, that's for sure. But yeah, no, we're going to continue talking about that. We're going to see a lot of crazy stuff. Hopefully we'll see somebody bold enough to romance the sumo to find out if you do go rolling on the beach and if she does end up topping you if you survive.
That would be freaking hilarious.
Oh, I can't wait to see her see Naue grab those big puffy cheeks. Bring it in, Big Mama. What's that?
She'll probably get crushed by the sumo wrestler.
Why not?
Yasuke won't. Yasuke will probably top her. Oh my god, I do not need that in my mind. Why did I picture that?
But the situation as it stands is Assassin's Creed is being discussed by the government, and we'll continue to cover that stuff here along with the other crazy gaming news. We didn't get to Helldivers tonight. Sorry about that. It's not as crazy as you think. The Helldivers developers were asked by the UN to come out and give a speech on how fascism happens because they created that game and how psychological manipulation works and how to prevent it or fight against it. and they came out and they were just like, hey, we really just kind of took the most basic approach to this, that everybody wearing the same thing and doing the same hand signs means you're fascist. And that was kind of the big takeaway of the whole conversation. They did not come out with a step-by-step MK Ultra about how you MK Ultra video game players through a bug killer game. They didn't come out and say that, even though that's what's being circulated around by people who want to blow the headline from PC Gamer out of proportion. I fell for it initially. Spencer brought through the information to clear it up for me, and then I felt pretty dumb for believing that Arrowhead would just come out and tell everybody about MK Ultra like that.
Well, yeah, because I remember seeing what the panel, because it was at Game Developers Conference. I remember seeing what the title of the panel was, and I was like, nah, there's got to be more to this than the bait that's being put out here. There's no way that it's just this, and I'm glad that's that it wasn't the case. But
well, and after the show, Jacob, where do we find you?
The face. It's too much. No. So I'm at
It froze
Society
right there.
Reviews for a second. I'm at Society Reviews. I got podcasts and stuff. I got the Bible Ends on Sunday. We're talking Ezekiel 38 this week. Last night we did a show on the Bar Room. That's our Tuesday show. We talked about people paying $70,000 to go to WrestleMania. We talked about Anthony Mackie, Bill Burr becoming like his black wife. We even took a short trip back to 1997 for a little bit, so go back and check that one out on our Society Reviews. Till then, I got reviews that need to be caught up on. I don't know. I guess I'm gonna go watch Snow White, or maybe I'll illegally stream it. Or something
You
like that.
poor man.
Yeah, it's
Try to find a hat cam.
You silence, woman. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got going on.
That's all you got? Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
There you go. You can talk now.
Can she talk? Okay. Can we hear her this time?
So you can find me on my channel, Nerdigans Inc., where I finally got the false copyright strike removed. It took forever, but it's gone. Where we cover anime and manga every day, and after this, I will be covering a couple of chapters decided to come out while we were streaming. So I'm covering Kingdom and Variety the Patriot right after this. And on Patreon, patreon.com/packergirl, we're covering Dragon Ball Daima's English dub. And yeah, it definitely got botched in a couple of places. Instead of saying, of course, Majin Ku says like a heart attack. I was just like, what? Really?
That's weird.
It was let's be real, the dub has had some slang in there, and I let it pass. I gave it a pass, but that was like after that I was like, no, that's something that's unforgivable. I can't with that. And then we are doing our Anime Japan coverage. I will be sending Spencer the updates as you know things go for Anime Japan. There's a lot of stuff coming through, like for stuff that we talked about here, like New Peony and Stalking with Garterbell. There's Gachi Akuda. There's a lot of content coming this weekend. So make sure you guys follow my Twitter right here, where you will see some of our, well, all of our coverage over there as well. And we will be back here next week for more content as well.
She's talking about her and the cat. No, there's no like psychosis there or voices in the head of the we. It's her and the cat.
No, don't tell people about the cat. We want them to come back next week.
Well, the cat brings the people here.
Yeah, that's right. But as always, guys, we're covering stuff over on the Bounding Into Comics website. Spencer's hard at work over there, carving up this Assassin's Creed news, as well as what's going on with Warner Brothers. And I think we've got some more stuff in the pipe from the other guys over there, too. So keep an eye on the website as this news continues to explode. I don't know if we'll be covering the JFK files on Bounding Into Comics, but we'll definitely be talking about it on and off here on the channel because everybody and their brother's involved in it. And I don't think we're done knowing about whoever's in there. Anyway, here's a country song.
Way down south in Japan-Obama, where the cypress sways and the creek runs wide, there's a sacred stretch of muddy water where the heart of the people's always tied.
Norbert and Aggie stood before the town, said the mud holes meant for one and all. The Jethro shoguns came riding in, built the tailgate temple tall.
Yasuke's riding tall tonight, steel in his hand in the mud just right. Bound by honor, bound by land, for the folks who fish, for the kids who stand. Oh, Yasuke's riding tall tonight. Through the pines and past the levee came the warrior bold and true, with a heart as strong as the rising sun and a four-wheel drive that flew. Jethro's clan stood shoulder to shoulder, coolers stacked and bonfires high, but Yasuke called the river spirit and the flood rolled in with a battle cry. Yasuke's riding tall tonight, steel in his hand in the mud just right. Bound by honor, bound by land, for the folks who fish, for the kids who stand. Oh, Yasuke's riding tall tonight.